Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening, Lisa asked. Ethan approached, taking one of the bracelets from the shelf and putting it on his left wrist. He remarked calmly, "Put the bracelet on and see for yourself." The bracelet resembled a watch, displaying a 72-hour countdown for the exam, with 2 buttons labeled O and X. "Alright." Lisa shrugged and on the remaining bracelet. Boom. As soon as they put on the bracelets, the room transformed. With a loud noise, a wall on one side fell, revealing a new wall. On this wall were 2 large iron doors, and in the middle, a screen displayed a line of text. The door on the left is an easy route, and the door on the right is a difficult route. If you choose the easy route, you need to eliminate another candidate. If you choose the difficult route, just press O with your bracelet. Both Ethan and Lisa turned their attention to the newly exposed wall. Upon reading the screen between the doors, Lisa turned to Ethan with a helpless expression and said, "Looks like we'll have to take the difficult route." Given their relationship, they wouldn't turn on each other for an easy path, so the difficult route was their only option. However, Lisa quickly noticed Ethan's expression seemed odd. "What's up? Is there something hidden in the text?" Lisa queried, noticing Ethan's look and glancing back at the screen. Being familiar with Ethan, she knew this expression meant he'd discovered something special. Despite her scrutiny, Lisa found nothing new in the text. "Well, I did find something, but it needs verification. Let's choose O and see what happens," Ethan suggested, quickly masking his earlier expression and glancing at a monitor in the room's corner. Okay." Seeing Ethan's reluctance to elaborate, Lisa suppressed her curiosity and pressed the O button on her bracelet. Click. As Ethan also pressed O, the iron door on the right activated. With a sound of mechanisms unlocking, the door swung open inward, revealing a dark passage. Ethan headed into the passage without hesitation, and Lisa followed alongside him without overthinking. But shortly after entering the passage, Ethan stopped and approached the wall adjacent to the other iron door. Boom, boom, boom. Ethan tapped on the wall with his left hand, producing a dull sound, indicating its considerable thickness. "What are you doing?" Lisa asked, pausing as Ethan suddenly stopped and began knocking on the wall. Ethan turned to her, grinned, and said, "I'm planning to break through. Didn't I mention? The other side is an easy route. Why take the hard way when there's an easy one?" Lisa's eyes widened in shock. "Is that even allowed? Why not? Our examiner for the 3rd exam didn't set rules against it." Ethan stepped back a few paces, relaxed, and faced the wall, rolling his right wrist. "Step back, I'm about to punch through this wall. Don't get hit by flying debris." Though surprised by Ethan's unconventional thinking, Lisa had no objections to him breaking through the wall to take another route and quickly stepped back a bit. "I bet the examiner will be furious if they see you breaking the wall," Lisa commented with a hint of amusement. "Let them. As long as it works for me." Ethan chuckled. With a focused gaze on the wall, Ethan stopped rolling his wrist, then suddenly stepped forward, thrusting his right fist like a spear in a move called gun fist, assassination. Boom. His fist, like a spear tip, packed with immense strength and sharpness, struck the wall hard. A loud roar echoed, with the strong impact shaking the passage. Debris erupted, and as the dust settled, it revealed a hole in the wall, about half a man's height. Through the hole, it was clear the wall was at least half a meter thick. This is a real world, unlike the anime from Ethan's past life. Animation often fails to truly depict destructive power due to budget or knowledge constraints, but when animation becomes reality, all powers are fully demonstrated. With Ethan's current strength, even if the walls along the routes were thicker than half a meter, he could easily punch through them. It's unlike the protagonist group in the original plot. Even though Killa supposedly had at least 8 tons of arm strength, they spent ages and used tools to break through with difficulty. Of course, Killa might have restrained his power to fit in with the team. Looks like it worked. Seeing the passage exposed on the other side of the hole, Ethan dropped his fist, satisfied. He used his hands to widen the hole further with sheer strength. To practice and strengthen his body, He once learned Kapu and used mountain peaks as punching bags. Though he never broke a mountain, he shattered plenty of rocks. A wall like this, without protective energy, posed no challenge to his iron fists. Chapter 27, Let's go, we need to pick up the pace. It's best to be the first to reach the bottom of the tower. Ethan Wells waved his hands to clear the lingering smoke and stepped through the hole to the other side. Lisa, who had retreated to a safe distance, quickly followed. As she passed through the opening, she caught Ethan's words, and a thought struck her. You mean? She asked tentatively. Yes, exactly. Ethan nodded in confirmation. To an outsider, this exchange might seem cryptic, but Lisa understood immediately and felt a surge of excitement. She knew that Ethan's other ability had likely issued a new mission, and it was to be the first to reach the bottom of the tower. After a brief exchange, they immediately set off, not walking but sprinting down the passage. Inside the trap tower's surveillance room, Warden, isn't this a violation of the rules? The trap tower's deputy exclaimed, looking at the enlarged screen before him. The screen displayed the passage the Hunter exam candidates entered, with one image enlarged at the center showing the hole Ethan had punched through the wall. Sitting directly in front of the screen was Liber, the examiner of the third exam and warden of the trap tower. He had been enjoying some snacks while monitoring the candidates' progress but paused at Ethan's unexpected maneuver. Breaking through the wall to take the easy route is certainly unorthodox. I didn't expect such an intriguing candidate this year, Liber remarked, shifting from initial shock to excitement over Ethan's actions. Humphrey, he's just an opportunist. People like him shouldn't even be in the Hunter exam. I say we eliminate him immediately, declared a man with a scarred face, clad in a fur jacket, with clear disdain for Ethan's tactics. Elimination is too harsh. I didn't set explicit rules against this method in the exam guidelines. At most, he exploited a loophole. Liber replied, casting a sideways glance at the scarred man. Liber didn't particularly like this man, who had leveraged powerful connections to be present and seek personal revenge. Yes, the scarred man was the examiner whom Hisoka had nearly killed in the previous Hunter exam. Now, he aimed to use the current exam to settle scores with Hisoka during the third exam. Are we just going to let this slide? The deputy hesitated. Hearing this, Liber returned his focus to the exam, a playful expression on his face. We can't eliminate them, but we can up the ante. Go to the first basement level and swap out 2 prisoners for the originally scheduled ones. Isn't that overkill? Even on the first basement level, the prisoners are all non-users. The deputy exclaimed, his expression shifting. The trap tower imprisons serious criminals from around the world, many serving hundreds of years, including non-criminals. The underground prison houses non-criminals, with lower levels holding increasingly powerful and dangerous inmates. Ha ha ha. It adds excitement, doesn't it? Breaking the rules is surprising, but it comes with a cost. Liber chuckled, speaking with a dismissive air. The Hunter exam is never a safety test. As long as it's not excessive, the examiners have full discretion over arrangements and decisions. For Liber, overseeing the Hunter exam was a chance to inject some fun into his otherwise mundane life. Whether the candidates survived or failed depended on their luck and abilities. Though labeled easy, the route was not without obstacles. However, compared to the difficult path, it was safer and faster to reach the bottom of the trap tower. As they dashed through the passage, Ethan and Lisa encountered various traps. Sometimes the floor would collapse, revealing spikes below, while at other times, arrows shot from the walls. An ordinary person would likely fall at the first hurdle. But these mechanisms posed little challenge to Ethan and Lisa. Without losing speed, they charged through the traps with a forceful approach. An exit? After what felt like an endless run, a change in the passage caught Lisa's eye, and her face lit up. Ethan also focused, though he doubted it was the true exit. Despite running for a while, the passage wasn't a straight descent. It had frequent turns and even ascended at times. Ethan estimated they were only halfway down the trap tower. Swish. With a rush of air, Ethan and Lisa burst through the exit without slowing, then came to an abrupt halt. Their sudden stop was because the exit led to an empty room with a raised platform in the center. Most notably, on the other side of the platform stood 2 figures, cloaked and tightly wrapped. Is this an arena? Lisa's gaze fixed on the figures, then scanned the room with interest. It looks like it, Ethan replied, casually surveying the room before focusing on the figures opposite the platform. Chapter 28, Ahem. I am the examiner of this test. The level that the 2 candidates need to pass now involves defeating the 2 opponents on the opposite side. If you win both battles, a new channel will open immediately. If you win one and lose one, 50 hours will be deducted. If you lose both battles, you will be eliminated directly. Additionally, I must remind you that this level is a matter of life and death. If either party is killed, no responsibility will be held. A monitor was set up above a corner of the room and was equipped with a speaker. As Ethan Wells and Lisa looked at it, Liber's voice soon sounded. Ethan glanced at the monitor and looked at Lisa beside him without much concern. "Do you want to go first, or should I?" "I'll go first," Lisa said confidently, moving her hands and feet easily, then jumped onto the central platform, which was essentially a ring. At the same time, the two people on the opposite side of the ring also turned their attention to Lisa. "A woman? I'm not interested in fighting a woman. I'll leave her to you," said the taller figure, who appeared to be over 2 meters tall. The other was the opposite, very thin and small, almost like a teenager. The speaker was the tall man. He glanced at Lisa on the stage before withdrawing his gaze, taking a few steps back, and sitting against the wall. "Thank you then. I haven't interacted with a woman for a long time, let alone such a top-notch one." The thin man seemed pleased with his companion's decision and eagerly removed his cloak. As he stood, his appearance was revealed: a thin man with a sharp face and monkey-like features. This man looked to be about 30 or 40 years old. After removing his cloak, he eyed Lisa on the ring with an excited and lewd expression. Click. The sound of shackles unlocking echoed as if the prisoners had decided on the order of appearance. The heavy shackles on the hands and feet of the sharp-faced man fell off. On the ring, as Lisa saw the shackles being removed from the man, her eyes narrowed slightly. Is he a non-user? As a qualified non-user, it's a basic skill to discern whether an opponent is a non-user. Although Lisa appeared relaxed, she was fully alert. When the shackles were removed from the man, Lisa sensed the aura emanating from him, and he used Tangle to envelop himself with his aura. Such a situation undoubtedly indicated that the sharp-faced man was a non-user. Below the ring, Ethan also frowned slightly. It turns out he's a non-user. Was this setup made because Lisa and I were identified as non-users, or was it due to my earlier wall-breaking incident? Hunter exam candidates are mostly individuals without NAN. Based on the scenario from the original plot, except for Hisoka, who encountered a non-user due to a previous examiner's personal vendetta, the rest, including the protagonist group, should never have encountered a non-user. Non-users appearing now is clearly an issue. Ethan quickly considered two possible reasons for the current situation. If it's the former, it's understandable. After all, non-users are judged by their level, so there's nothing unusual. But if it's the latter, then there's cause for concern. As Ethan pondered investigating after the Hunter exam, the sharp-faced man quickly stepped onto the ring after his shackles were removed. The sharp-faced man was a prisoner from the underground level of the trap tower, named Buzz. Upon stepping onto the ring, he eyed Lisa across from him with fiery eyes, like a hungry wolf eyeing tempting prey, eager to pounce. Such an unpleasant look. Lisa noticed his gaze, her eyes showing undisguised disgust and coldness. As a woman, especially a beautiful one, Lisa frequently encountered people like Buzz. Similarly, she never hesitated to teach such individuals the meaning of cruelty. In the monitoring room, watching the two on the ring, Liber looked excited and shouted into the microphone, "Both sides are in position. I declare the first battle officially begun." The word start echoed from the speaker connected to the monitor, and instantly, Lisa and Buzz moved simultaneously in the ring. Ha ha ha. Buzz, filled with perverse excitement, rushed at Lisa the moment the battle began, screaming as he charged at a rapid pace. If it were an ordinary woman, facing Buzz's expression, she might have quailed, naturally feeling psychologically overwhelmed. But that's the nature of battles. Besides physical strength, psychological confrontation is inevitable. Buzz's posture might not have been deliberately crafted, aiming to intimidate Lisa psychologically and increase his chances of winning. But whether intentional or not, Buzz certainly did not intimidate Lisa. As Buzz rushed forward, Lisa raised her hands instantly, revealing two pistols, one black and one white. Da. The black pistol in her right hand was aimed at Buzz, who had just rushed out. Lisa's face remained calm as she squeezed the trigger. Intense aura bullets erupted from the muzzle, showering Buzz like a sudden downpour. Aura bullets? Damn it. Buzz's pupils contracted sharply. Charging at Lisa, Buzz saw the sudden appearance of the pistols in Lisa's hands, firing like a submachine gun. His expression changed dramatically, and with a strange scream, he quickly veered to the side to dodge. The aura bullets struck the air, impacting the ring and the opposite wall. Even though the black gun's aura bullets weren't as powerful as the white guns, they still scattered debris across the ring and walls, forming dense craters. Chapter 29. As Lisa swung the muzzle to follow, Buzz continued to dodge. Lisa decisively pursued him with her black gun, unleashing a barrage of aura bullets that seemed to sweep through like a storm, quickly closing in on Buzz. Buzz, with no time to relax, could only keep dodging. Da. Buzz's agility matched his slight build, allowing him to move like a monkey. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't outpace Lisa's shots. Although the black gun's bullets weren't as powerful as the white gun's, their rapid fire rate was formidable. Unable to evade for long, Buzz was struck by the bullets one after another. Amidst the impacts, Buzz's movements became awkward, and the areas where he was hit showed bullet marks not too deep but noticeable. You're not an enhancer, and you only know the basics of Tangle. Seeing the bullet marks on Buzz, Lisa's eyes flashed with insight as she continued to fire. The mastery of Nen is key to judging a user's strength. Extraordinary talent is rare, and without a deep grasp of Nen, one's strength is limited. Although Buzz's body wasn't completely penetrated by the black gun's aura bullets, the extent of his injuries gave Lisa a general understanding of his Nen skills. Damn woman, you're forcing my hand. Unlike Lisa's calm analysis, Buzz, shocked and angered by his injuries, was furious. He initially intended to have fun after subduing Lisa, but the fight forced him to abandon that idea. Lisa could discern Buzz was an Nen user, so she fought accordingly, but Buzz failed to realize Lisa was also an Nen user. Most people in this world have a superficial understanding of Nen and don't even know the basic Nen categories. Just like Castro, who faced Hisoka in the Sky Arena in the original plot. Though Castro was an enhancer, his lack of understanding led him to develop abilities typical of a manipulator, wasting his natural talents. Although Buzz was an Nen user, his imprisonment on the weakest underground level indicated he had reached the limit of his Nen path. He didn't observe Lisa's aura closely, relying instead on ordinary sight. Of course, understanding and recognizing Nen doesn't equate to strength. Some people are naturally talented and can develop strong Nen abilities despite superficial understanding. In anger and fear, Buzz's only thought was to win quickly. Despite his body being contorted by the bullets, Buzz relied on his agility to barely maintain his balance, then leaped a short distance away. While dodging Lisa's bullets again, he made a shooting gesture towards her with his right hand. Strangely, nothing seemed to eject from Buzz's hand, as if it was merely a feint to confuse Lisa. Nen is full of surprises, and Lisa, having faced Nen users multiple times, didn't ignore Buzz's sudden move. Instead, Lisa was highly vigilant. She immediately stopped shooting and moved swiftly in one direction, focusing her aura into her eyes during the process. Condensation. Condensation is an applied skill of practice. With condensation, one can see through an opponent's concealment. Lisa suspected Buzz used it to hide his attack. No. Contrary to Lisa's expectations, even with condensation's sharp insight, she didn't detect Buzz's attack, as if his gesture was merely a bluff. Below the ring, Ethan, who was observing the battle, also used condensation. Focusing his aura in his eyes. Fake move? No, he did launch an attack. Although Ethan didn't see the attack during condensation, he noticed something odd and quickly shifted his focus to Lisa, ready to intervene if necessary. His right hand hung by his side, with sharp threads extending from his fingertips. If Lisa didn't recognize the true attack, Ethan would provide support. Back in the ring. When condensation revealed nothing, Lisa briefly considered that Buzz's move was simply a distraction. But the next moment, that notion was shattered by the faint sound of something cutting through the air. Startled, Lisa not only maintained her motion but accelerated, sprinting 5 or 6 meters away. Raise the gun. Fire. Once 5 or 6 meters away, Lisa quickly aimed her black pistol, but not at Buzz. She aimed at her original position. Da. In the fierce gunfire, dense bullets swept out, covering several meters. In an instant, where Lisa had stood, bullets collided midair with something invisible. It was as if an invisible blade was in that space, being knocked away and deflected as the bullets hit. So, it's not that you're using Nen to hide your attack, the attack itself is invisible. Lisa quickly assessed the situation and began to act. While continuing to fire at the invisible blade with her black gun, she charged directly at Buzz on the ring's edge. Boom. The white gun, previously unused, fired as Lisa pulled the trigger, sending a powerful bullet toward Buzz's head. He dodged hastily. From Lisa evading his invisible flying knife, to launching her counterattack, it all happened quickly. Buzz scarcely had time to react with his Nen attack. When Lisa aimed her white gun at him, Buzz quickly sidestepped, then heard a violent crash behind him. Boom. A large hole appeared in the wall where the white gun's bullet struck. It looked like the work of a powerful sniper rifle, not a pistol. Chapter 30, Lisa's Nen ability is called Fatal Bullet. The bullets from the black gun are aura bullets with a very fast firing rate but average power, while the bullets from the white gun are aura bullets with an average firing speed but significant power. Although the white gun shot missed, it effectively served as a distraction. As Buzz's focus wavered, his invisible flying knife lost control. Lisa noticed this immediately and aimed the black gun at him. Da. Boom. Both black and white guns fired simultaneously. First, the dense aura bullets from the black gun enveloped Buzz, and then the white gun unleashed powerful aura bullets. This attack strategy by Lisa was the same she had used on Hisoka. The intense fire from the black gun prevented Buzz from fully dodging. After being hit by an aura bullet, his body froze momentarily. At that moment, the aura bullet from the white gun hit him squarely in the chest. Boom. Flesh and blood exploded, and a significant amount of blood spattered from Buzz's back. The white gun's bullet penetrated his entire chest, leaving a huge, gaping wound. Ah! With a shrill scream, Buzz was thrown out of the ring by the powerful kinetic energy of the bullet, landing below the ring like a discarded sack. The scream quickly diminished, and as his body twitched, silence soon followed. The battle was decided. Lisa glanced at the other prisoner, dispelled her black and white guns, and turned to jump off the ring. Well done. Ethan smiled and raised his right hand. Lisa, with a relaxed expression, skillfully clenched her fist and shared a fist bump with Ethan. The opponent's grasp of Nan was very basic. If I couldn't beat this guy, all my hard training would have been for nothing. Training is never easy, at least not physically. To build their physical strength and enhance their aura, Ethan and Lisa not only seek powerful opponents for life and death battles as bounty hunters but also work diligently in their daily training. After a brief exchange, it was Ethan's turn. He leaped onto the ring. Simultaneously, on the other side of the ring, the prisoner who had been sitting against the wall also strode onto the stage. This man showed no reaction to the death of the other prisoner, nor did he check on him. But this was normal. The two were merely imprisoned together in the trap tower and weren't true companions. There was no reason for any reaction to the other's death. Once on the ring, the prisoner removed his cloak and tossed it aside, revealing his appearance. Beneath his 2-meter-tall frame was a fierce face with muscles seemingly stretched to the limit. A scar ran from his right temple to his chin, making him appear even more menacing and ferocious. Bang! The shackles were released as he clasped his hands into fists, causing his knuckles to crack with a series of popping sounds. Robert looked at Ethan, a flash of violence in his eyes, and said with a ferocious smile, "Your companion seems quite good, but I wonder about you. I am not like the loser just now. If you're too weak, I won't mind crushing every bone in your body." "Really? Then let me see if you have that ability." Ethan replied with a faint smile, folding his hands in front of his chest, seemingly arrogant. "Huh?" Robert was clearly affected by Ethan's demeanor, and the violence in his eyes intensified. The strong murderous intent merged with his aura, forming terrifyingly malicious thoughts. If an ordinary person faced such malicious intent, they might be paralyzed with fear or even frightened to death. But unfortunately for Robert, Ethan wasn't ordinary, so the malicious thoughts had no effect on him, like a gentle breeze passing by, as he continued to look at Robert indifferently. Both sides are in position. The second battle begins. The loudspeaker in the room soon echoed with Liber's voice again, and you could even hear a hint of excitement in it. Excitement was natural. From across the screen, Liber hadn't expected Lisa to be an user initially, and from the previous battle, her strength was clearly notable. Lisa was capable, but what about Ethan, who was with her? In Liber's judgment, Ethan was likely a capable person too, otherwise, he wouldn't have remained so calm during the last battle. The battle between skilled non-users is far more exciting than battles involving ordinary people, making Liber watch with increased excitement. Liber announced the start, and his words still echoed in the room as the ring underwent an instant change. Unlike Lisa's previous battle, Ethan took the lead before Robert could launch an attack or even react. Ethan, clad in a black combat uniform, moved like a bolt of black lightning, suddenly bursting forth at a speed beyond what the naked eye could follow. In a flash, Ethan had closed the distance between them, appearing beside Robert as if teleporting. So fast. Lisa, well acquainted with Ethan, found her pupil shrinking in surprise at the speed Ethan displayed. Not to mention the physical enhancement brought by the dragon elephant body tempering pill, the light spirit fruit he consumed made Ethan's body much lighter, increasing his speed by 20 to 30%. Even the speed of his ordinary explosive power was astonishingly fast. Boom. Lisa, standing below the ring and observing the fight, could barely keep up with Ethan's movements, but Robert, in the ring, clearly couldn't. As he reacted hastily, he was met with a powerful and heavy kick from Ethan, striking him in the midsection. A dull impact echoed, and Robert's feet lifted off the ground, his large body flying backward like a cannonball. First numbness, then pain. After being kicked out, the intense pain caused by the heavy blow to his midsection coursed through his nerves, contorting Robert's expression. It's not that he hadn't used his aura to protect his body. On the contrary, his mastery of Nan was superior to that of Buzz, who Lisa had defeated. He utilized the advanced application Ken, a combination of Ten and Ren. Additionally, Robert, like Ethan, was an enhancer non-user, allowing his aura to exert the strongest effect in both defense and attack. Despite this, Robert was still seriously injured by Ethan's sweeping kick and felt severe pain in his waist, as if it had been broken. Chapter 31, Damn. With great shock and anger in his heart, Robert was about to fly out of the ring. He endured the pain in his lower back and spun suddenly to absorb the impact on his body and crashed onto the ring. Boom! His feet, entwined with aura, smashed into the solid arena, creating two deep footprint-like depressions as gravel scattered. Die to me. With a roar, Robert turned around and charged towards Ethan. Tumors bulged out on his broad back, and 3 additional arms sprouted from each side. With his original arms included, Robert suddenly transformed into an 8-armed figure, like a mad beast. When he got close to Ethan, he unleashed a barrage of punches with explosive force. The air was stirred by the powerful force, and the storm of 8 fists created a blinding flurry of strikes. In contrast, Ethan calmly kept his arms folded across his chest, even as Robert unleashed his attack. Swish, swish, swish. Ethan's tall and strong body moved like a phantom, weaving left and right, and stepping back and forth in small steps. He effortlessly dodged the punches coming one after another. After firing nearly 100 punches in a row, Robert's explosive power clearly reached its limit, and his punch speed and strength dropped significantly. Yet, he didn't even graze the edge of Ethan's clothes. The light spirit fruit not only enhanced Ethan's speed but also his flexibility. Combined with Ethan's extraordinary insight, Robert's seemingly fierce and explosive punches posed no danger in his eyes. Crossing his arms wasn't arrogance. Robert simply hadn't reached the level that required Ethan to use his hands. Gun fist, assassination. Although the gun fist style is named after fists, it doesn't mean it can only be performed using fists. When martial arts reach their peak, any part of the body can produce similar effects. Ethan exemplified this now. After Robert's onslaught, he quickly dodged and launched a counterattack. His right foot turned into an afterimage and kicked out, his toe piercing the opponent's heart like a spearhead. Puff! Robert's body shook violently, a pained expression crossing his face as he sprayed blood from his mouth. Simultaneously, his entire body was kicked into the air by Ethan, flying out like a cannonball. This time Robert didn't save himself, he flew out of the ring and crashed into the wall not far from Lisa. Boom! The wall shook with a bang, and rubble exploded. Robert's entire body was embedded in the wall, with a deep pit near his heart. As he was embedded into the wall, Robert spewed blood again, and the light in his eyes quickly dimmed, becoming lifeless. Ethan's assassination kick had shattered Robert's heart, killing him instantly. Ethan, your speed and flexibility have improved a lot. After glancing at the lifeless body, Lisa jumped onto the ring and approached Ethan with an expression of admiration. It's okay. Mostly because the opponent was average. If it were Hisoka, it wouldn't be so easy. Ethan replied with a slight smile, lowering his arms. While talking, the two crossed the ring and moved to the other side. Simultaneously, a portal opened on the wall for them to continue forward. Both of them won easily. It seems I underestimated their strength. In other words, the quality of this year's Hunter exam is very high. In the monitoring room, watching Ethan and Lisa enter the passage on the other side, Liber leaned back in his chair, murmuring with a sense of unfulfilled excitement. Surrounded by spiral staircases, candles lit the steps, casting light in the dark space. Footsteps echoed as a figure emerged from the passage, eyes immediately landing on the figure sitting cross-legged on the ground opposite. It's finally here, Hisoka, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Advertisement. The figure sitting on the ground cracked a ferocious smile, the scars on his face adding to his fierceness. Isn't this my last examiner? What's going on with you here? Hisoka stared briefly, then smiled. Of course, it's for revenge. I want to repay you for all the shame you brought me. The scarred man burst out with strong murderous intent, his face becoming more ferocious. He quickly jumped up, scimitars appearing in his hands, and swung them directly at Hisoka. The scimitars rotated rapidly when released, forming two dangerous full moons. Fueled by aura, the power of the rotating scimitars was even more formidable. Huh! Almost as soon as the scarred man swung his swords, Hisoka moved. His figure blurred like a phantom as he faced the flying scimitars. Just before encountering them, he displayed incredible agility, flying through the air, slipping between the two scimitars, and continuing to approach the scarred man. Die by my 4 sword styles, Hisoka. In the last Hunter exam that Hisoka participated in, the scarred man had only shown the 2 sword style. But now, seeing Hisoka bypass his 2 swords, the scarred man immediately drew 2 more scimitars from behind and launched them at Hisoka again. Hisoka's eyes changed slightly, but instead of fear, they gleamed with excitement and fierceness. 2 playing cards appeared in his hands, one held between each set of fingers. Not only did Hisoka not stop, but he burst out with even greater speed. His arms blurred into afterimages, using the playing cards like blades. In a lightning-quick strike, the 2 scimitars were expertly knocked away by Hisoka with precision. How can it be? The scarred man's pupils shrank to pinpoints, Disbelief etched on his face. The development from 2-sword to 4-sword style had bolstered his confidence to seek revenge on Hisoka. But now, his so-called 4-sword style had no effect at all. Instead, it was easily countered by Hisoka. Just as the scarred man was in shock, Hisoka appeared before him like a phantom, then leaped into the air and landed behind him with 2 swift slashes. Chapter 32, Poof. The scarred man didn't even have a chance to react. His head flew high in a spray of blood and landed not far away. As for the 4 blades that flew towards them, they boomeranged back a certain distance, but the scarred man could no longer catch them. His headless body was impaled by his own weapons on the spot. It's too weak. It's impossible for such an opponent to be fun, but it can help calm the mood. Throwing the 2 blood-stained playing cards away and nailing them to the ground, Hisoka's figure was hunched over, and his face had become terrifying at some point. Muttering to himself, the corners of his mouth curled into a grin. After a few deep breaths, Hisoka straightened his body, returned to his usual demeanor, and walked away. Boom. The heavy stone door rose, revealing a dim passage. The next second, amid the sound of footsteps, 2 figures walked out, one behind the other. Number 99 Ethan, the first to pass the 3rd exam, taking 3 hours and 15 minutes. Number 100 Lisa, the second to pass the 3rd exam, taking 3 hours and 15 minutes. The empty room on the bottom floor of the trap tower was also equipped with monitors and speakers. When the 2 figures walked out, the corresponding introductions immediately sounded. Yes, the 2 figures walking out of the passage were none other than Ethan and Lisa. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the fastest in trap tower achievement and receiving the reward, 100x training card. The sound echoed in Ethan's mind alongside the announcement from the system. By successfully reaching the bottom of the trap tower first, the achievement was naturally completed smoothly. Is this the bottom of the trap tower? Next to Ethan, Lisa took a look around, observing the closed, empty room. Advertisement in the latter half of the battle with the prisoners, although there were many traps, they obviously had no effect on Ethan and Lisa. Rushing forward as quickly as possible, the 2 smoothly reached the bottom of the trap tower. While looking around, Lisa also checked to see if any other candidates had arrived before them. Finding none, she immediately turned to look at Ethan. Her eyes held a deep meaning, and her intent was clear. Ethan also exchanged a look of affirmation with her, which immediately brought a smile to Lisa's eyes. There's still a long time until the exam ends, let's rest by the wall. Ethan found a place by the wall and sat casually on the ground with Lisa, who followed him. How's it going? Did you get anything good as a reward? Lisa leaned on Ethan's shoulder and asked in a low voice, sounding intimate. I got a very good reward. Ethan replied, skillfully wrapping an arm around her waist and chuckling softly. There was a note of excitement in his voice. The reason was this reward. 100 times practice card, use it to open a practice space. In the practice space, time is 100 times that of the outside world. In the practice space, you will be immune to negative physical effects such as hunger and exhaustion for 24 hours. Regarding the 100 times practice card, Ethan didn't hide anything from Lisa and explained the details to her. Can such an item be rewarded? Lisa almost exclaimed in disbelief after learning about the 100 times practice card and its functions. Compared to Blood Body, the 100 times practice card is obviously more magical. You have to learn to adapt. There may be even more incredible rewards in the future. Compared to Lisa, Ethan was much calmer. After all, the system represents the breaking of rules and the incredible. Although the 100 times practice card is magical, it seems much more mundane to those familiar with the concept of infinite potential. Of course, this doesn't mean Ethan underestimates the 100 times practice card. On the contrary, he is very satisfied and amazed by it. Advertisement. While it doesn't directly enhance strength like the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, it is an excellent tool to assist in practice. 24 hours means he can use the 100 times practice card to gain 100 days of practice time in just one day. And the most crucial aspect is that during this period, he is immune to negative physical effects such as hunger and exhaustion. This means that when practicing in the space, he won't be affected by fatigue and can train intensely. Humans have limits, whether in endurance or strength. Once you reach your limit, rest is necessary. Therefore, the effect of the 100 times practice card is far more than merely multiplying time by 100. It can be worth several times the effect of a normal 100 days of practice. If nothing goes wrong in the 4th exam, it should be a fight for the number plates. I remember the duration is a week, which means I can use the 100 times practice card during this time. Ethan's eyes flickered with determination. Although during the 4th exam, Hunter Association members will secretly track and record candidates, Ethan is confident he can avoid their detection. The most important thing is that Ethan no longer wants to wait. Initially, he planned to wait until the hunter exam ended to address Hisoka's actions during the first exam. But now, with the system's continuous rewards and his rapidly increasing strength, particularly with the 100 times practice card, he intends to seize the opportunity of the fourth exam to deal with Hisoka as soon as possible. Time passed quietly. When the clock on the wall had passed 6 hours, the ground suddenly shook slightly as a stone door opened. Tap tap tap. Footsteps sounded, just like those of Ethan and Lisa before. Inside the open stone door, a figure slowly walked out. It's Hisoka. When the stone door opened, Lisa, who was resting with Ethan, glanced over. Upon seeing the figure walking out, she immediately sat up straight with vigilance. It was Hisoka who emerged. Chapter 33, Have you passed the exam so quickly? Hisoka glanced casually and almost immediately spotted Ethan and Lisa sitting by the wall not far away. He stopped momentarily and narrowed his eyes slightly. But soon, he moved to the other side as if nothing had happened. Given the strength Ethan had shown before, it was normal for him to pass the third exam. As for arriving faster than Hisoka, it wasn't necessarily a sign of superior strength. After all, Ethan and Lisa had consciously sped up, whereas Hisoka had likely taken a more leisurely pace, almost like a stroll. After moving to the other side, Hisoka sat down with his back against the wall like Ethan and Lisa and began playing cards leisurely. It's not that he had given up on the intriguing challenge Ethan presented, but the situation at that moment wasn't suitable for him to take action. Although Ethan intrigued him, Hisoka wasn't ready to jeopardize the hunter exam. Participating twice was already pushing it, he didn't want to have to start over again. Aren't you injured? Ethan naturally looked over when Hisoka appeared, but unlike Lisa's vigilance, he quickly noticed something peculiar after a glance at Hisoka. If he recalled correctly, in the original plot, Hisoka was injured in a battle with the previous examiner. But now, not only were there no injuries on Hisoka, but there were also no signs of battle. It seemed he had encountered no difficulties along the way. Ethan wondered if his presence had caused a butterfly effect, preventing the previous examiner from seeking revenge on Hisoka. Unbeknownst to him, the previous examiner had indeed appeared, but Hisoka's desire for battle had changed. Because of Ethan's presence, Hisoka's inner desire to fight intensified. Therefore, when Hisoka encountered the previous examiner, he did not engage in a drawn-out battle. Instead, he used the encounter to vent his desires and killed the examiner with brutal efficiency. Because of this, Hisoka was not injured as he was in the original plot. Although Ethan didn't know the specific details, he didn't dwell on it. Seeing that Hisoka hadn't taken any action, he quickly returned to resting with his eyes closed. The 72-hour examination period was neither short nor long. As time passed, more candidates gathered at the bottom of the tower. Meanwhile, the logistics of the hunter exam were well managed, with special food provided to help candidates replenish their strength. Finally, the time reached the last minute. Just when the other candidates thought the third session was over, a stone door activated. Amidst the chaotic footsteps and sidelong glances from all the candidates, they soon saw an exhausted Gon, Killua, Kurapika, Leorio, and the notorious Tonpa entering the bottom of the tower. It's really the protagonist's style, cutting at clothes and always making a grand entrance. Ethan observed the protagonist group, who had caught up just in time, and slowly stood up, then looked at the door that opened slowly on the other side with Lisa. The bright light shining through indicated that a new round of exams was about to begin. Dear candidates, the third exam is now over. All candidates are asked to proceed outside through the exit to learn about the next exam. The horn sounded, and the candidates walked out of the trap tower, where they found Liber, the examiner of the third exam, waiting outside. Ethan narrowed his eyes slightly upon seeing Liber, recalling the encounter with an amusing prisoner. However, since Liber was still the examiner, Ethan knew any inquiries would have to wait until after the hunter exam. Otherwise, as Hisoka demonstrated, attacking an examiner would result in elimination. I wonder what the next exam will be about, Lisa said with interest. After 3 exams, although many candidates were tired, not all were. Besides Lisa, people like Gon or Killua were energetic and eager for the upcoming exam. Dear candidates, I am the examiner of the third exam, Liber. Please take turns drawing lots in the order you arrived at the bottom of the tower. The lots you draw will determine the content of your next exam. Seeing the candidates assemble, Liber, standing behind the lottery box, smiled slyly and spoke. Sure enough, there is no change. After hearing Liber's announcement, Ethan confirmed that the fourth exam's format was as expected. Being the first to reach the bottom of the trap tower, Ethan did not hesitate and walked directly out of the crowd toward the lottery box. Was he the first to arrive? Kurapika, who had been secretly observing Ethan, narrowed her eyes slightly upon seeing Ethan step forward first. TCH. Beside her, Killua curled his lips. If he went all out, he might have had a chance to reach the trap tower first. After experiencing the ball scramble game on the airship, Killua had a general understanding of Ethan. But because Ethan successfully snatched the ball from Netero while he failed, Killua felt quite dissatisfied with Ethan. Ethan randomly drew a piece of paper from the box and returned to his spot. Lisa followed him closely and was the second to draw. One by one, in the order of their arrival at the bottom of the trap tower, all the candidates quickly completed the lottery. Then Liber instructed the candidates to tear off the stickers on their lots and check the numbers on them. The number you each draw represents the number plate you will need to capture in the next game. Your own number plate is worth 3 points, the designated target's number plate is also 3 points, and the remaining number plates are 1 point each. During the next week, you need to collect a total of 6 points to pass the 4th exam. After completing the lottery, Liber detailed the 4th exam's content and explained the exam location, which was Glass Island, not far from the trap tower. Chapter 34, compared to the location of the exam, candidates were obviously more concerned about their number plate and the number on the plate they drew. Almost as soon as Liber explained the process of capturing number plates in the next game, most candidates hurriedly secured the number plates attached to their chests and then looked at others warily. Compared to the previous 3 exams, the 4th exam was clearly much more dangerous, as it involved direct competition between candidates. Number 105. Ethan glanced down at the number he had drawn. His expression remained unchanged, but internally he found it interesting. Knowing the content of the exam, he had paid close attention to the number plates of each candidate. At the same time, because of his participation, the candidate numbers had shifted significantly from the original plot. For example, Ethan was number 99, and in the original plot, number 99 was Killua's number plate. As for the number 105 that Ethan drew, coincidentally or perhaps as retaliation, it happened to be Killua's current number plate. However, Ethan didn't look at Killua. Instead, after confirming his target, he pocketed the lottery ticket and turned to Lisa beside him. "What number did you draw? See for yourself." Lisa showed the number she drew from an angle that only Ethan could see, then quickly put it into her pocket. "Number 53. Ethan smiled slightly after seeing the number Lisa drew. Number 53 was the number before his, so the owner of the number hadn't changed because of his participation, and the candidate numbered 53 was Bakure, known as the explosive brain. The difficulty level is quite easy. Ethan thought to himself. Needless to say, Killua was among the top candidates in terms of strength, but he still lacked crucial experience. Therefore, it wasn't too difficult for Ethan and Lisa to capture the number plate. After boarding the boat arranged by the Hunter Association, all the candidates sailed toward Glass Island, the location of the 4th exam. The arrangements for landing on the island for this exam are in the order of the shortest clearance time in the previous exam. After the last candidate lands on the island, there will be an interval of 2 minutes before it is the next candidate's turn. After successfully arriving at the coast of Glass Island, the girl from the Hunter Association provided additional explanations after the ship docked. "Is it 2 minutes apart?" Lisa thought thoughtfully. Ethan turned to look at her and said with a smile, "I'll wait for you at the coast when I get up." Lisa couldn't help but smile. There appeared to be a loophole in this exam. Like her and Ethan, they could definitely team up. "Okay, now please ask the candidate who took the least time to pass the previous exam to come forward." At this time, the girl from the Hunter Association called out after explaining. Ethan walked out with a relaxed expression, but when he reached the edge of the deck and stepped onto the wooden plank leading to the island, he suddenly stopped and then turned to look at the waiting candidates. As soon as he glanced around, his eyes immediately focused on Hisoka. "Huh?" When Hisoka saw Ethan suddenly turning to look at him, his eyes narrowed slightly, an expression of interest on his face. "On the last day, on the coast in the other direction, I'm waiting to fight you, Hisoka." Ethan raised his left hand, pointed to the other side of the island, and said provocatively to Hisoka. "What is this, a declaration of war? These two people are really going to have a conflict? Is it the other side of the coast? Do you want to go over there and watch the battle? Well, forget it, I don't want to get hurt by accident." Ethan's sudden move shocked all the candidates, and they watched to see Hisoka's reaction. Interesting. Hisoka had anticipated what Ethan might do, but when it actually happened, he felt intense excitement. Licking the corner of his mouth, an excited and wicked smile appeared on his face, and he replied, "Then it's settled. I'm very much looking forward to fighting you." I agreed, Hisoka agreed. Are these two really going to fight on the last day? Both sides are terrifying beings. It's best if they both lose. That way, there will be two fewer dangerous competitors in the next exam. I wonder who among these two can win. Ignoring the reactions of the other candidates, Ethan turned around and walked off the boat with a faint smile when Hisoka accepted his invitation. "Killua, who do you think is stronger, Ethan or Hisoka?" "It should be Hisoka." Although Ethan is not weak, Hisoka feels more dangerous to me. Although Ethan got off the boat, the candidate's curiosity was unabated. Gon and Killua leaned in to discuss. Although Ethan hadn't interacted with the protagonist group, after experience in the airship game, Gon specifically asked Nitaro for Ethan's name. During Gon's inquiry, Killua considered carefully and ultimately decided that Hisoka was stronger. It wasn't that he was biased against Ethan due to dissatisfaction, rather, Hisoka genuinely felt more dangerous. It shouldn't be that simple. Since the other party dares to declare war on Hisoka, there must be some certainty. At some point, Kurapika came up behind Gon and Killua and interjected. Kurapika, do you think Ethan can win? Gon asked, surprised. In fact, Gon also instinctively felt that Hisoka would be stronger. After all, he had a brief encounter with Hisoka, and the impression left was profound. Kurapika shook his head. That's not the case. I simply feel that the outcome of the battle between these two is difficult to predict. As the protagonist group discussed, Ethan, who had disembarked, stopped after walking a certain distance into the lush forest. Then he leaned against a tree, waiting quietly for Lisa. Some candidates noticed that Ethan hadn't moved on, which caused a temporary stir among the candidates. After all, Ethan was clearly very powerful. If he stayed on the shore and waited, not many candidates could withstand it. Fortunately, after Lisa disembarked, Ethan met up with her, and they left together. Chapter 35, This is a team, right? Is this okay? Those two are clearly working together. Damn it, if we run into them, there's no way to escape. The sooner I get to the island, the better my chances. I hope my number plate isn't their target. Some candidates were relieved that Ethan had left, while others were uneasy about Ethan and Lisa teaming up. Of course, there were also a few who complained to the Hunter Association staff. Well, that guy was obviously Leorio. However, the complaint was unlikely to succeed, because teaming up is also a skill, otherwise, Leorio wouldn't be the only one complaining. Time passed, and before long, all the candidates successfully landed on the island, marking the official start of the fourth exam. His body turned into a black shadow as he quickly navigated through the lush woods. Tangled roots and various snakes, insects, rats, and ants were everywhere. Suddenly, a hand flashed by like a real blade, slicing through a colorful snake that lunged from the tree crown. The number plate I need belongs to the man named Bodero. While we were on the boat, I applied a secret tracking drug on him. It won't take long to find him. The sun shone through gaps in the tree canopy, casting beams of light. When it illuminated the face of the figure who had just killed the venomous snake, it was Killua. Since he was one of the last to land on the island, Killua couldn't track his target by arriving early. However, as a professional assassin, tracking is a basic skill, so Killua came prepared. Using a secret family drug, Killua had discreetly marked his target, Bodero, during the boat ride, enabling him to track him easily. Yes, Killua's target had changed from the original plot. It was no longer Imori among the three Mari brothers, but now Bodero, whom Killua killed at the end of the original plot. The old man and young assassin seemed to have an unspeakable fate. After a brief pause, Killua was ready to continue tracking, but as soon as he moved, he suddenly changed direction, leaping to the side with great agility. Whoosh! A leaf shot past Killua's original position like a bullet, continuing into the distance and embedding deeply into the trunk of a thick tree. Who? Come out! After landing and turning around, Killua's eyes focused sharply in one direction. At the same time, his hands transformed, veins popping out, and his nails turned into sharp claws resembling those of a feline. This is one of the assassination techniques inherited from the Zoltek family. With a type of physical control skill, one can change the structure of their hands to easily grasp an enemy's heart, even to the terrifying extent of not bleeding. In the direction Killua was watching closely, two figures slowly emerged from the dense forest, causing Killua's heart to tighten as he recognized them, immediately feeling strong vigilance. Your number plate is my target. If you hand it over, you can avoid injury. With your strength, you can definitely find other number plates to replace it. The two figures were a man and a woman, none other than Ethan and Lisa. Ethan looked at the wary Killua, his gaze lingering on Killua's hands for a moment before speaking calmly. Arriving on the island first does have its advantages. For example, knowing that Killua was his target, Ethan had appeared to leave with Lisa but had actually been hiding in the shadows. Using the aura of Zetsu to conceal themselves, even Killua, trained as an assassin since childhood, hadn't realized he was being followed until Ethan revealed himself. If you want my number plate, you'll have to earn it. Although Killua was extremely wary of Ethan, he wasn't about to back down without a fight. After hearing Ethan's words, he took the initiative. Rhythm Echo. Using an assassination technique inherited from his family, Killua suddenly burst forth with astonishing speed, silent as he moved. Huh. With a flash of speed, Killua appeared beside Ethan, stabbing out with his left hand like lightning, either aiming to take Ethan's number plate or dig out his heart. Killua felt unconvinced about Ethan. This encounter wasn't only a contest for the number plate but also a personal challenge he eagerly anticipated. Ethan sidestepped with a fluid motion. Killua's attack was fast and sharp, but Ethan's reaction speed was even faster. In a split second, Ethan avoided Killua's stabbing hand and simultaneously struck out at Killua's neck with lightning speed. Killua's pupils contracted as he stopped and leaned back, narrowly dodging Ethan's grasping palm. He then flipped backward, bracing his hands on the ground, and kicked at Ethan's abdomen with both feet. Being small has its advantages, it makes one more agile. Particularly, Killua's physique is very powerful, making him even more flexible than others with a similar build. But fighting relies not only on physical fitness and agility but also on reaction speed, body coordination, and skill. Watching Killua dodge and counterattack, Ethan's eyes remained calm and steady. With a single step, he avoided Killua's feet and then punched downward. Boom! The ground shook violently, and Ethan's fierce punch left a pit several meters wide. However, Killua didn't appear in the pit. Instead, when Ethan punched down, Killua exhibited incredible flexibility and spun to the side. The little guy is quite capable. Truly a descendant of the Zoltek family. While Ethan and Killua fought, Lisa didn't join in. Instead, she watched from the side with her arms folded, observing with interest. Seeing Killua dodge Ethan's attack, Lisa whistled, looking at Killua, who had started dodging nearby, with an expression of interest. Chapter 36, Killua's strength is naturally impressive. In fact, he has top-level talent, which is why the Zoltek family considers him the perfect successor. However, no matter how high the talent, it still takes time to develop fully. At this stage, Killua may seem like a monster compared to ordinary people, but to a true master, he is still quite immature. Just as Killua quickly glanced at Ethan after landing, suddenly, Ethan disappeared from beside the crater. Huh! A sharp sensation came from the side of his neck, causing Killua's hair to stand on end, his whole body stiffening. Behind him, the vanished Ethan suddenly appeared, with a knife hand poised at Killua's neck. "Don't move, or I'll cut your neck," Ethan said calmly, looking at Killua, who seemed stiff but was actually tense, ready to burst free at any moment. Killua was silent for a moment before saying bitterly, "You win, my number plate is yours." He hadn't expected the battle to end so quickly. At the same time, his instinct urged him toward thoughts of self-preservation, admitting defeat, and escape. Even though he felt reluctant, under such instinctual pressure, Killua could only suppress his reservations and make the safest choice. Under Ethan's indifferent gaze, Killua honestly took out the number plate from his pocket, and Ethan accepted it. Huh! As Ethan withdrew his hand, Killua ran without hesitation, not daring to linger for even a moment, fleeing into the distance. Although his talent is amazing, he seems a little timid. Is it because he's too sheltered? Lisa walked up to Ethan and looked in the direction Killua had fled. The Zolteks are an assassin family. They wouldn't lack courage training for their heirs. He's just under someone's influence, Ethan replied, flipping his palm. In an instant, the number plate he captured vanished from his hand like magic. Simultaneously, Ethan turned his head to look at a large tree not far away. "Hey! He's gone now. You can calm down your murderous intent." At Ethan's voice, Lisa instantly turned toward the tree, black and white guns appearing in her hands as she took a vigilant fighting stance. "Sorry. Because Killua is my younger brother, I'm more sensitive to his safety as his older brother." There was only a brief silence before a figure slowly emerged from behind the tree Ethan had been watching. This was a man with various strange needles inserted into his face, giving him a terrifying appearance. More precisely, he was Illumai disguised as Gittracker. Emerging from behind the tree, Illumai restrained himself. Lisa hadn't noticed him. He had only targeted Ethan with his murderous intent, and he spoke with a stiff expression. "It's actually him." Seeing Illumai, Lisa frowned slightly. Like Hisoka, Illumai had been warned about by Ethan before the hunter exam began, highlighting the danger he posed. While Lisa frowned, she looked at Illumai with even more vigilance and wariness. The other party's concealment methods were so superb that if Ethan hadn't alerted her, she would never have realized someone was hiding in the shadows. "That apology isn't sincere. Why don't you give me your business card for a future discount or something?" Ethan said with a smile, his expression unchanged. Illumai looked at Ethan's reaction with some surprise but quickly nodded. "Okay." He spoke, producing a business card from his jacket pocket, then flicked it toward Ethan. Ethan raised his hand and effortlessly caught the spinning, flying business card. Huh. In the same manner as Killua, after handing over the business card, Illumai didn't linger and disappeared from Ethan and Lisa's view. "Is he gone?" Lisa didn't let down her guard but asked Ethan in a low voice. Since Illumai had been able to hide from her senses for so long, he might hide in the shadows again. Without confirming that the other party had truly left, Lisa naturally wouldn't be careless. Yes, he's gone. Ethan nodded slightly, then glanced at the business card in his hand. It was very simple, with only a phone number. If left on the ground, no one would pick it up, let alone recognize it as coming from the famous Zoltik family. Hearing that Illumai had truly left, Lisa felt relieved and put away her black and white guns. She also looked at the business card in Ethan's hand. Are you planning to hire someone from the Zoltik family to assassinate someone? Lisa asked curiously. Previously, she hadn't known that Illumai was a member of the Zoltik family, only that he was a master on par with Hisoka, according to Ethan. However, through Illumai's own introduction just now, she learned he was also from the Zoltik family and Killma's brother. There is indeed a target, but it will take some time to get there, Ethan said casually without further explanation. As he mentioned, it was still early to hire Illumai, and saying more now would only give Lisa one more thing to worry about unnecessarily. Seeing Ethan's demeanor, Lisa didn't press further. Based on their relationship, she trusted that what Ethan didn't want to say wouldn't harm her. It's a pity. I originally wanted to analyze more about the Zoltik family's assassination techniques. Ethan thought with some regret. Had he not discovered Illumai hiding, he hadn't intended to end the battle with Killua so quickly. The goal was naturally simple, to extract Killua's value and learn more about the Zoltik family's assassination skills from him. However, Illumai's level of control was beyond Ethan's expectations, so he had to end the battle hastily. Forget it, there will be many opportunities to interact with the Zoltik family in the future, so there's no need to rush. Though he felt a bit regretful, Ethan quickly regained his composure, gestured to Lisa, and continued their hunt. Chapter 37. The environment of Glass Island is very complex and can also be considered a natural hunting ground. In a patch of grass, a standard hunt is now taking place. A candidate holding a knife carefully explored the grass that was as tall as a person. Unbeknownst to him, another candidate was stalking him from behind. Notching an arrow and drawing the bow. The archer tried his best to restrain his aura, slowly aimed the arrow at the unsuspecting candidate, and then released it with force. Whoosh! The moment the arrow was shot, the archer's restrained aura finally fluctuated with the attack, alerting the target candidate who turned quickly and dodged. The arrow grazed the examinee, barely missing his shoulder. Though injured, the candidate paid no mind and, like a tiger unleashed, charged at the archer in rage. Die. Being tracked and treated as prey without realizing it is naturally humiliating. The knife-wielding candidate quickly approached the archer, roaring angrily, and slashed with his blade. The archer hurriedly dodged, and the grass where he stood was sliced by the blade. However, the ferocity of the knife-wielding candidate seemed exhausted with the swing. His body staggered, and he fell to the ground helplessly. Damn it, you poisoned the arrow. The blade slipped from his hand as the collapsed candidate weakly voiced his anger. You should be grateful I only used a paralyzing poison, not a lethal one. The archer replied calmly, brushing the dirt from his clothes. Poisoning weapons may seem deceitful, but in real combat, it's a routine tactic. The archer didn't see anything wrong with using poison on his arrows. Though this is an exam, the fierce competition is no less than a life-and-death struggle. Stepping forward, the archer bent down to retrieve the number plate from the fallen candidate. Huh! Bang! Before his hand reached the downed candidate, a figure appeared behind the archer and landed a swift chop to the back of his neck. The archer didn't even have a chance to react, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed, unconscious. The candidate on the ground looked at the archer who joined him in defeat, his pupil shrinking, feeling a mix of emotions. Is this the hunter becoming the hunted, with the real predator lurking behind? You should be grateful I just knocked you out instead of killing you. Lisa looked at the unconscious archer, and without a word, she leaned over to retrieve his number plate. Afterward, she turned and left, quickly disappearing into the grass. It's amazing. The hunter had captured the prey right before him, but in the next second, he turned from hunter to prey. Until the last moment, he never knew if he was the true hunter. Is this what being a hunter truly means? In the canopy of a distant tree, Gon, who had hidden himself and restrained his aura with his remarkable talent, watched wide-eyed as the entire contest between hunter and prey unfolded in the grass. And without Gon noticing, not far from him, another hunter silently watched him, waiting for the chance to capture prey. After leaving the grass and walking a short distance, Lisa saw Ethan leaning against a tree, waiting for her. That was easy, let's go. Lisa smiled, showing Ethan the captured number plate in her hand. Then the next step is to find a suitable resting place. Ethan smiled, leaving the tree and walking with Lisa as they picked a direction to explore. After searching for some time, the two found a cave on a cliff. After killing a black bear living in the cave and cleaning it briefly, Ethan looked at Lisa. The rest of the day is up to you. If you encounter an enemy you can't handle, it doesn't matter if you give up your number plate. Remember to ensure your own safety," Ethan advised. Lisa nodded and smiled. "Don't worry, I know what to do. Just practice in peace." "Well, then I'm going in." Ethan nodded slightly, glanced past Lisa at the dense forest nearby, then turned and walked into the cave. Although the Hunter Association staff are hidden in the shadows, with the cave as cover, they won't notice even if Ethan uses the 100 times practice card. Once inside the cave, Lisa casually sat at the entrance, resting and keeping a watchful eye on the surroundings, clearly guarding against anyone disturbing Ethan during his practice. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps echoed as Ethan ventured deeper into the cave, finally reaching its end. After a quick inspection, ensuring there were no issues, he retrieved the 100 times practice card from his storage space. The 100 times practice card appeared in his right hand, looking like a silver-plated card. Ethan didn't hesitate and immediately followed the system's method, gripping the 100 times practice card firmly. Click. The 100 times practice card, resembling paper but like an energy crystal, shattered into countless light particles as Ethan squeezed it. Simultaneously, these light particles converged into a circular portal, glowing with white light. Ethan stepped into the ring portal, and as he entered, it vanished from the cave, leaving no trace. Upon passing through the ring portal, Ethan felt as if he had crossed into another world. The surrounding environment drastically changed. He found himself in an endless expanse of white, with no discernible edges. The ground beneath him appeared as if paved with jade, crystal clear and warm. "Is this the practice space?" Ethan murmured, surveying the area before turning to look behind him. Nothing. There was no circular portal to exit the practice space behind him. However, Ethan wasn't worried, as the system had explained that the exit portal would automatically appear when the time was up. Chapter 38. This place is somewhat similar to the hyperbolic time chamber. Observing the practice space, Ethan couldn't help but think of the hyperbolic time chamber from the Dragon Ball world. It, too, extends time and serves as an excellent place for training. Then let's begin practicing. After a moment of contemplation, Ethan looked ahead. Boom. With a mere thought, the open space in front of him transformed dramatically. A mountain over 100 meters tall rose instantly, towering in the vast and boundless practice space. A slight smile played on his lips. Training naturally requires a suitable environment. In the practice space, Ethan is almost like a god, able to create any desired training environment with his will. 5 colored threads. Without wasting time, sharp threads extended from Ethan's fingertips. Under his control, they swept toward the cliff ahead like a network of threads. Kai. 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 The sound of tearing was endless as Ethan continually unleashed threads, leaving a tangled web of cracks on the solid rock wall. Foot shave line. Lower the rogue line. Bounce the thread. All sorts of thread-based abilities were displayed by Ethan, bursting forth like a torrent as he targeted the mountain for rigorous training. He had already planned this practice session, prioritizing the development of his thread fruit abilities. Advertisement. His current mastery of the thread fruit was still very basic. Even if he didn't expect to reach the point of awakening during this session, he aimed to at least achieve a level of proficiency. To develop the thread fruit, it was necessary to use it continuously, then transform it into various techniques according to his imagination, while also increasing the thread strength. In the practice space, there was no alternation of day and night, only a consistent light, making it difficult to sense the passage of time. Additionally, the immunity to negative physical effects meant Ethan didn't need to worry about physical exhaustion and could develop his thread fruit abilities without restraint. Time passed bit by bit. It was unclear how much time had elapsed, but after several peaks were destroyed in succession, Ethan's movements gradually slowed. I miscalculated. Although this space is immune to the negative effects on my body, it still drains me mentally. After practicing for an indeterminate amount of time, Ethan's physical strength was still at its peak, but fatigue crept in, making him dizzy. He had to stop practicing, first bending down to support his knees, and eventually lying flat on the ground without a care for his appearance. Staring at the white sky, Ethan's eyes seemed unfocused, giving him a dazed look. Indeed, he wouldn't feel hunger or physical burden here, but the mental aspect had its limits. Long-term high-intensity practice also imposed a significant burden on his spirit, and Ethan had reached the limit of his mental endurance. With a wry smile, Ethan could only stop and rest, allowing his tired mind to recover. Fortunately, mental stamina lasts longer than physical strength, and reaching his limit meant a good sleep would restore him. Ethan fell asleep where he lay, and upon naturally waking, he immediately resumed his training with renewed energy. But this was just the beginning. Practice, sleep, practice again. In an environment like the practice space, where time seemed non-existent, The continuous cycle allowed for total focus on training, yet it was also a monotony. Humans are social creatures, and only a few can live alone for extended periods. Mental exhaustion can be alleviated through rest, but spiritual solitude can only be endured with strong willpower. Ethan no longer knew how long he had been in the practice space. Training had almost become instinctual, yet the seemingly endless routine also brewed negative emotions such as irritability and loneliness within him. It's akin to some wealthy individuals who, despite having everything, gradually feel emptiness and loneliness over time. How long has it been? Months or days? When did my will become so weak that I actually wanted to lie still all the time? Practice space. I see, it's not only about training the body but also cultivating the soul. To use this space to gain strength, you must have a heart that can endure emptiness and solitude. At some point, Ethan lay on the ground, muttering to himself. After slowly sitting up, he looked at the mountain he'd mostly destroyed. Gritting his teeth, he jumped up and began training furiously once more. Boom boom boom. Mountain cycled through destruction and reconstruction. Loneliness, persistence, no matter how isolating. Compared to mental fatigue, spiritual solitude became the biggest obstacle. As if in a never-ending cycle, Ethan's mind constantly wavered between perseverance and loneliness. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he used his strong will to crush the loneliness that surfaced repeatedly. Gradually, the feeling of solitude appeared less frequently. In contrast, his will grew more resolute with each victory over loneliness. The moon rises and sets, and the sun just rises. On Glass Island, a day passes quietly. Candidates constantly rotated between being hunters and prey, employing various means to snatch others' number plates to collect 6 points. In front of the cave at the bottom of the cliff. Not far away, a candidate lay in a pool of blood, riddled with bullet holes, no longer alive. Lisa sat cross-legged at the cave entrance, her expression calm, hands on knees, holding black and white guns. The body of the candidate not far from the cave had clearly been killed by Lisa. Late last night, the intruder had entered the area, and upon discovering Lisa, attempted to steal her number plate. However, the outcome was clear. The intruder not only failed to capture the number plate but also lost his life. Chapter 39, 24 hours. If I calculate correctly, it should be almost time. Lisa's eyes briefly scanned the corpse not far away, then the surrounding dense forest, before she withdrew her gaze and continued to wait silently. Damn it, what's with this woman? Isn't she tired? She keeps such high vigilance. This can't go on. She's not my target. Instead of wasting time here, it's better to search elsewhere. Maybe I'll find my target. Since yesterday, candidate number 99 hasn't appeared. Did those two act separately, or is the man hiding? In the dense forest outside the cave, several candidates hid in concealed spots, their eyes carefully but eagerly watching Lisa at the cave entrance. The cave chosen by Ethan and Lisa wasn't particularly hidden. As the day passed, it was normal for candidates to pass by or discover it given the way this exam was conducted. Naturally, there were those who coveted the number plate Lisa held. But like the deceased candidate, Lisa wasn't an ordinary person, so the hidden candidates didn't act rashly, waiting instead for the perfect opportunity. Sleeping, eating, or even a lapse in concentration would be opportune moments to strike. These candidates clearly underestimated Lisa. From beginning to end, Lisa showed no flaws. Throughout the entire day, she maintained a high level of vigilance, preventing the hidden candidates from making any rash moves. Tap, tap, tap. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from within the cave, causing a slight change in Lisa's expression as she turned to look inside. Logically, her action could be seen as a significant flaw. The candidates hiding in the shadows wouldn't have missed this long-awaited opportunity. But, surprisingly, there was no movement in the dense forest outside the cave. None of the hidden candidates moved. Instead, they appeared tense, as if faced with a formidable adversary, their muscles taut. The reason for this reaction was simple. As Lisa turned to look inside the cave, a figure slowly emerged. The figure emerging from the depths of the cave was none other than Ethan, who had disappeared for a whole day, or rather, spent 100 days in the practice space. When Lisa saw Ethan approaching, her breath caught unconsciously, an expression of surprise crossing her face, and her body tensed instinctively. It wasn't that Ethan's appearance had changed, rather, it was the transformation in his aura. Lisa's keen senses detected that Ethan now carried the presence of a top predator in the food chain. In just one day, Lisa felt a more pronounced sense of pressure from Ethan than before. If she hadn't been sure she recognized him correctly, Lisa might have instinctively turned to flee. I've kept you waiting for a long time. Under Lisa's surprised gaze, Ethan walked steadily toward her, patted her shoulder with a smile, and then glanced toward the dense forest outside the cave. His eyes almost instantly locked onto the hidden positions of several candidates. Boom. Without any special movements, Just a change in his gaze, Ethan's eyes seemed to narrow slightly, releasing an incredibly terrifying aura from his body. "Will die. Run. Monster." The candidates hiding in the forest were initially just wary of Ethan's appearance, but when his gaze swept over them, their instincts screamed danger, and their pupils shrank to pinpoints. Like rabbits entering a tiger's lair, when the tiger's gaze falls upon them, they instinctively feel fear. Not caring about staying hidden, the candidates in the dense forest bolted as if for their lives, pouring all their energy into fleeing desperately. It's not malicious thoughts, just pure momentum. How could these candidates be so terrified merely by his presence? Ethan's aura was precisely directed at the hidden candidates, so Lisa, standing right next to him, was unaffected. But that didn't mean she was unaware. The reactions of the hidden candidates, along with the fact that Ethan hadn't used any overt force, were enough for Lisa to make an educated guess. Because of this, Lisa was even more surprised, almost incredulous. Ethan now seemed like a phoenix reborn from the ashes. His energy and spirit had undergone a transformation, becoming unfathomable and incredible. "Okay, the annoying mice have been driven away. You can rest well now. I'll stand guard next. If there's anything we need to discuss, we can do it after you've rested." After frightening off the hidden candidates, Ethan sat down on the other side of the cave entrance, leaning against a wall, and spoke to Lisa with a smile. "All right. I'll leave it to you, then." Though curious about Ethan's changes, Lisa immediately smiled at his words, then closed her eyes to rest peacefully. Ever since Ethan had gone deeper into the cave, she hadn't rested. Especially once a candidate had discovered the area and targeted her, Lisa had remained on high alert. This took a toll both physically and mentally. Ethan noticed the fatigue in Lisa's eyes, so he didn't delve into the changes within himself but instead let her rest. Such a breath of life is truly nostalgic. As Lisa quickly fell asleep, Ethan's gaze shifted to the lush woods outside the cave, where the faint sounds of various birds and beasts could be heard. To others, such sounds might be noisy, but to Ethan, they felt extraordinarily comforting. At the same time, when he looked at Lisa, who was breathing evenly and asleep, it felt as if he'd returned to another world. He hadn't felt such a breath of life for too long. Chapter 40, Practicing continuously without a sense of time. Even after leaving the practice space, Ethan was in a daze for a while before realizing what he had been doing. In the practice space, he relied on his strong will to overcome emptiness and loneliness, but that didn't mean he had become accustomed to them. On the contrary, having experienced seemingly endless emptiness and loneliness, he cherished the breath of life even more now. "It seems my mind is still not strong enough if I can become sad and sentimental." Ethan suddenly laughed at himself, taking a deep breath and adjusting his mindset. Sentimentality wasn't his style. Indeed, his time in the practice space brought him many insights, but they were merely feelings. His primary goal was to become stronger. Setting aside unnecessary emotions, Ethan quickly adjusted his mentality and began to assess the gains from his practice. The results were significant. Despite the mental and spiritual toll, experiencing the equivalent of 100 days of practice in the outside world, and perhaps even more effectively, led to substantial growth in his strength. Not only did he develop the thread fruit ability, but he also improved physically and mentally. Using devil fruit powers consumes physical energy, so Ethan didn't neglect physical training while developing the thread fruit. Especially since he is an enhancer. In addition to basic physical exercise, the continuous circulation and nourishment of mind energy significantly enhanced physical growth. Additionally, his nin, or mind energy, grew considerably. This included various applications of mind energy, as well as the basic quantity of it. In the practice space, the body was immune to negative influences, including mind energy, allowing him to use and deplete it freely. By repeatedly exhausting his mind energy through training and then quickly recovering thanks to the practice space's immunity, Ethan thoroughly developed cellular life energy, significantly increasing his potential energy. There was also the display of energy. If the body is likened to a water tank, then potential energy is the amount of water in the tank, and displayed energy is the amount that can be drawn at once. Holding a small bowl, you can only take out a small amount of water, but with a larger bowl, you can extract much more. The size of this bowl depends on a person's spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is more intangible and immaterial than life energy, yet it is very real. Emotions such as anger, sadness, pain, and fear affect the performance of mind energy because they cause fluctuations in spiritual energy. For instance, anger can temporarily boost spiritual energy, leading to a surge in displayed energy. Conversely, emotions like sadness and fear weaken spiritual energy, resulting in decreased displayed energy. There is no exact method for exercising spiritual energy, it is often enhanced through fighting or rigorous practice. Although Ethan didn't engage in fighting in the practice space, he practiced intensely. Most importantly, he underwent extreme spiritual training. Willpower is a force belonging to the spirit. A person with strong willpower also possesses a robust spirit. Therefore, Ethan's progress in displayed energy was particularly impressive, even surpassing the growth in potential energy. The more potent the displayed energy, the more effectively one can utilize mind energy. Especially since Ethan is an enhancer non-user. In terms of enhancing attack and defense through mind energy, Ethan has made significant progress compared to before using the 100 times practice card. There are less than 5 days left. After assessing his growth, Ethan thought about his upcoming fight with Hisoka. He felt no nervousness, only anticipation and a strong fighting will. Lisa slept until it was dark before waking up. After taking out food from the storage space, Ethan and Lisa chatted while eating at the cave entrance. The food was purchased by Ethan on the airship at the end of the second exam, intended as emergency supplies. Furthermore, food stored in the storage space remains fresh, appearing as if freshly cooked when retrieved, still steaming. It turns out such a training environment is indeed a great test of willpower. No wonder you've undergone such a big change. During their chat, Ethan described the practice space to Lisa, who was deeply moved by the concept. Although she hadn't experienced it herself, imagining practicing for 100 days in an environment without a clear sense of time, vast and empty, made her feel a bit uneasy. She had trained in harsh environments before, but at least she had a sense of time and knew how long she had been practicing. This alone can relieve spiritual loneliness to a great extent. It's tough, but the effect is truly remarkable. If I had such an opportunity again, I would seize it without hesitation. As Ethan spoke, he finished the roast suckling pig in his hand in just a few bites. The stronger the body, the greater the consumption, or perhaps just a better appetite. With Ethan's current physique, he's naturally a big eater, which is why he prepared a large amount of food in the storage space. What you said makes me want to try it. I wonder if there will be rewards for multiple people practicing together. That would be even better. Lisa said with interest, quickly finishing off a roast chicken. In my dreams, I'd be satisfied if I could have such a reward again. Can't you think about it? Lisa rolled her eyes at Ethan's comment. Chapter 41. The days passed by, and before he knew it, it was the last day of the fourth exam. Ethan wasn't concerned with what had happened to the other candidates over the past 6 days and had no interest in knowing. After experiencing the 100 times practice card, he focused all his attention on adjusting his condition. When the final day arrived, he headed to the agreed-upon coast. Emerging from the lush woods, he was greeted by an open space that stretched to the sea. This open space felt like a natural battlefield, perfect for an unrestricted fight. He's finally here. The coast wasn't deserted. At the edge of the sea, a figure sat on a rock. Hisoka immediately looked in the direction of the dense forest. When he saw Ethan and Lisa emerging from the forest, his eyes lit up with excitement. He stood up and left the rock, walking slowly towards Ethan and Lisa, with an expression of eager anticipation. Go on. As Ethan and Lisa emerged from the woods, they quickly locked their eyes on Hisoka. Seeing him approach, Lisa's eyes were alert, and she whispered encouragement to Ethan. Yeah. I will win. Ethan stared at Hisoka as he walked towards him, a calm smile on his face as he moved forward to meet him. Though Lisa was worried, she chose to trust Ethan and did not follow. Instead, she stepped back a distance, leaving the battle to him. With the sound of waves in the background, both sides walked towards each other, closing the distance. Finally, when they were less than 10 meters apart, Hisoka made the first move. GGG. As if suddenly liberated after being suppressed for too long, Hisoka's pent-up emotions burst forth. He switched from walking to sprinting, and amidst his strange, inexplicable laughter, he rushed at Ethan with intensity. There was no need for words, just the most straightforward battle. Whoosh whoosh. As he charged, playing cards appeared in Hisoka's hand, infused with powerful non-energy, transforming into sharp black projectiles. Huh. Ethan's eyes were keen and cold. Whether it was Hisoka rushing towards him or the flying cards, he didn't flinch. Instead, he reacted swiftly and charged forward. Gun fist, flowing blade. After activating Enhancer, his non-energy erupted from his aura nodes, enveloping his entire body. His hands formed sword shapes and slashed with after-image speed. In a sudden clash, Ethan precisely struck, knocking away and slicing through the incoming cards. In the blink of an eye, he was face to face with Hisoka. Without hesitation, Ethan slashed fiercely at Hisoka's neck with his right hand. The terrifying sharpness was akin to a magical weapon, causing the hairs on Hisoka's neck to stand on end. So fast. His pupils contracted, and Hisoka decisively chose to evade the strike, flexibly ducking under Ethan's blade. Hisoka is a true fighting genius. His excitement doesn't cloud his rationality. On the contrary, the more excited he is, the calmer he becomes in battle. The blade cut through the air, and before Ethan could make his next move, A sharp edge approached from below. Hisoka immediately counterattacked after dodging Ethan's strike. A playing card appeared in his left hand, swiftly slicing towards Ethan's throat. Remaining calm, Ethan leaned back to avoid the card's attack, then flipped back, using both hands to support himself, and kicked at Hisoka's chin with his right foot like an inverted golden hook. Bang! Ethan's toes struck with a dull impact against Hisoka's palm. Surprisingly, Hisoka had used his right hand to protect his chin at the critical moment, blocking Ethan's kick with his hand. However, Hisoka underestimated Ethan's power. Although his palm shielded his chin in time, it didn't fully block Ethan's attack. The force pushed his hand into his chin, and his whole body was lifted by Ethan's kick. Such nin power. Enhancer. His right palm was swollen, and his jaw throbbed with severe pain. However, Hisoka wasn't concerned about the pain. What truly caught his attention was Ethan's type of nin. With this thought flashing through his mind, Hisoka, who was airborne, didn't wait to fall. Using his strong body coordination and explosive power, he spun to dissipate the impact and landed smoothly a few meters away. At the same time, Ethan, having kicked Hisoka away, performed a backflip to land not far away. His eyes quickly assessed Hisoka's right hand and chin. Just being an enhancer isn't enough to cause much harm. Noticing the injuries on Hisoka's hand and chin, Ethan's eyes flashed as he charged towards his opponent again without hesitation. Although his nin energy had greatly improved since the start of the hunter exam, a master like Hisoka was clearly adept at using nin. Both in the conjurer category, Hisoka's conjurer nin offers only 80% of the enhancer's power in direct confrontation when using an equal amount of nin. Now, Hisoka blocking Ethan's enhancer attack at the cost of minor injuries suggests Ethan has a slight advantage, but it also implies Hisoka's manifested energy might be as strong as, if not stronger than, Ethan's. Did you develop conjurer nin's enhancer? If so, that would be disappointing. While thinking quickly, Hisoka saw Ethan approaching and stepped back, throwing more playing cards. Based on their earlier clash, Hisoka concluded Ethan must be an enhancer nin user. However, during the first exam, Ethan had displayed conjurer's nin. With both types appearing, Hisoka initially thought Ethan had taken the wrong path and was a spoiled fruit. This thought left Hisoka not only disappointed but also filled with intense anger. The delicious fruit he'd long awaited turned out to be spoiled inside, a result he couldn't accept. Chapter 42, TSK, TSK, TSK. Ethan once again displayed the gun fist, flowing blade. Charging towards Hisoka, Ethan deftly deflected the flying playing cards with his sharp hand strikes. Suddenly, just as Ethan had knocked the playing cards away, a strong pulling force came from his right foot, causing his steps to falter and his balance to stagger. Huh. The pulling force wasn't just on Ethan's right foot, it was also on Hisoka's right hand. To be more precise, this was Hisoka's explosive counterattack. Hisoka's body suddenly erupted with incredible speed, not only propelled by his legs but also aided by the pulling force on his right hand. One stumbled, while the other accelerated with extreme speed. From the outside, it seemed like Ethan had a flaw that Hisoka exploited, rushing towards Ethan at high speed to unleash a powerful attack. Boom. Suddenly, Ethan's right foot burst with violent energy, instantly neutralizing the pulling force. What seemed like a misstep and loss of balance turned into a calculated maneuver, and as Hisoka struck at high speed, Ethan regained control and charged forward. Gun fist, collapse. Nin energy quickly gathered at Ethan's right elbow. He not only unleashed a powerful attack but also used hardness in applying his nin, slamming towards the advancing Hisoka. Fell into a trap. Every hair on his body stood on end. Ethan's sudden change made Hisoka's pupil shrink to pinpoints. With a super-fast reaction, he used a backup strategy, pulling himself aside with a strong force. Boom. The ferocious elbow strike hit the air, and the potent force agitated the air, whipping up a whistling breeze, raising dust waves and forming a sunken ravine on the ground in front. Not far away, Hisoka landed with a strong pull, quickly twisting around, using his feet to absorb the impact, and placed his right hand on the ground, gazing at Ethan with fiery eyes. I pretended to be affected by bungee gum, then burst free with energy, breaking away from bungee gum in an instant. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I'd be seriously injured now. The series of events flashed through his mind, and his initial anger vanished, replaced by excitement and a heightened thrill. What transpired was actually quite simple. When Ethan kicked Hisoka away, Hisoka took the opportunity to attach bungee gum to Ethan's right foot. In his anger, Hisoka contracted bungee gum, using its strong contraction to disrupt Ethan's balance and enhance his speed, intending to strike Ethan down. But Ethan's response exceeded Hisoka's expectations. What appeared to be a loss of balance due to bungee gum was actually a strategic ruse. When Hisoka attacked, Ethan instantly broke free from bungee gum, with a burst of nin and counterattacked fiercely, nearly landing a serious blow on Hisoka. The entire process was extremely tense. A slight mistake or a slower reaction by either party could have resulted in a severe injury. The reaction is so fast. It's a pity he avoided it like that. Collapse hit the air. Ethan quickly stabilized himself, then leaped back and turned mid-air to face Hisoka, who was not far away. He felt a twinge of regret. Just a slight difference. If Hisoka had reacted a bit slower, his previous attack would have dealt significant damage. Using Gyo to focus nin in his eyes, Ethan clearly saw a gum-like nin on Hisoka's waist, with the other end connected to the ground at his feet. This was bungee gum. It was also the key to how Hisoka avoided Ethan's attack. Besides attaching bungee gum to Ethan's right foot during the block, Hisoka had also prepared another bungee gum, connecting it to the ground nearby. Moments earlier, Hisoka used the second bungee gum to pull himself aside with powerful force. Ethan was well aware of Hisoka's nin abilities and remained vigilant. His right foot was intentionally caught by bungee gum, or else he would have broken free earlier. He aimed to catch Hisoka off guard. Swish, swish, swish. The thoughts racing through Ethan's and Hisoka's minds happened in mere moments. As Ethan focused on Hisoka, he saw Hisoka behaving like a spider, with bungee gum extending from various parts of his body. Some strands stuck to the ground around them, while others flew towards Ethan. Seeing this, Ethan didn't give Hisoka a chance to attach it to him and decisively jumped back to avoid the flying bungee gum. With Hisoka as the center, bungee gum flew towards Ethan. After extending about 10 meters, it fell to the ground as if exhausted. It's almost an extension of 10 meters, but it might just be an illusion. Seeing the flying bungee gum fall, Ethan stopped retreating but remained vigilant. A real fight isn't just about raw strength, it's also about cunning and strategy. Much like Ethan's earlier ploy with bungee gum to counter Hisoka. Now, with bungee gum only extending 10 meters, it might be an illusion by Hisoka to mislead Ethan's judgment. Ethan wasn't a rookie and wouldn't make such a naive mistake. Meanwhile, Hisoka wasn't disheartened by the failure of bungee gum. In fact, he realized Ethan had a solid understanding of bungee gum. It's not enough just to avoid being caught by bungee gum. Hisoka gazed at Ethan intensely, the corners of his mouth lifting as he quietly contracted a bungee gum strand connected to the ground nearby. Chapter 43, Huh. The powerful contraction instantly turned Hisoka into a blur of motion, with other strands of bungee gum contracting one after another. Controlled perfectly by Hisoka, the contractions in different directions allowed him to move at astonishing speed, shuttling back and forth so quickly that his movement trajectory became a blur. And during his rapid movements, a new bungee gum flew out from Hisoka, targeting Ethan. Ethan naturally dodged immediately. But even if it missed, the bungee gum stuck to the ground transferred Hisoka's movements to Ethan's vicinity in an instant. In a flash, Ethan seemed surrounded by Hisoka. Countless afterimages came and went, and he could be attacked by Hisoka at any moment. In the distance, Lisa, who was watching the battle, saw Hisoka's offensive and her eyes immediately sharpened, worried that Ethan might not be able to fend off Hisoka's attacks. The moment he was surrounded by Hisoka, Ethan reacted quickly. A large amount of nin energy erupted from his aura nodes, forming an invisible, intangible spherical field that covered a 5-meter radius. Hisoka's movement speed was indeed dizzyingly fast, making it hard to track him, but there was a way to counter it. N was the best approach. The advanced application skill N, a fusion of Ten and Ren, formed a keen perception without blind spots. Ethan activated N. And within a 5-meter radius, no matter which angle Hisoka attacked from, he could detect it immediately. As for why it was confined to a 5-meter radius, it wasn't because Ethan's Nin wasn't strong enough to cover a larger area, but because it wasn't necessary. The larger the range of the N, the more Nin energy is consumed. Since it wasn't for searching, there was no need to extend the range unnecessarily. Moreover, compressing the scope of N enhances its perceptual acuity. A 5-meter range was the optimal setting Ethan had established for himself, similar to how Nobunaga from the Phantom Troop controlled his N within a 4-meter radius. N? It's a good way to handle it, but you need enough reaction speed to keep up with me. During his rapid movements, Hisoka immediately noticed Ethan's N. But Hisoka didn't get nervous, instead, he attacked swiftly. Whoosh! As afterimages continued to blur, a playing card wrapped with powerful Nin shot out. The card appeared from behind Ethan, targeting the back of his head at lightning speed. Huh! The moment the card appeared, Ethan's N detected it. Without looking back, he shifted to the side at high speed, easily dodging the card. N's insight does require sharp reactions and skill. But fortunately, Ethan excelled in both areas. The card was merely a feint. As he moved rapidly, Hisoka didn't pause after throwing the card. Instead, he continued using bungee gum to appear to Ethan's left. The real attack commenced. Utilizing the strong contraction force of bungee gum, Hisoka appeared close to Ethan in a flash, holding a card in his right hand, slashing toward Ethan's neck. Mind's eye fist listening. Compressing his perception of time to the extreme. While maintaining and accurately detecting Hisoka's attack, Ethan decisively used mind's eye fist listening. Hisoka's movements seemed to slow down, giving Ethan ample time and opportunity to respond. Continuing his steps with agility, Ethan sidestepped calmly, and as Hisoka passed, he swung a powerful kick toward Hisoka's head. The kick missed. Surprisingly, Hisoka also demonstrated exceptional reflexes. After his attack was dodged, he immediately pulled himself aside with a bungee gum attached to his body. The kick failed, but Ethan quickly stabilized himself, though Hisoka used bungee gum to resume his rapid movement, preventing Ethan from pursuing. Troublesome. Ethan frowned slightly, continuing to sense his surroundings within to guard against further attacks from Hisoka. Hisoka's movement with bungee gum was incredibly fast, making interception difficult, and his reaction speed was equally sharp. Just like earlier, Hisoka dodged in an instant, rendering Ethan's counterattack ineffective. Hisoka. This guy is really impressive. Although they were adversaries, Ethan had to admit that Hisoka was a formidable opponent. Not only was he powerful, but his mental fortitude was also impressive. Not only is his application of Nen proficient, but his reaction speed is also remarkable. This is indeed a rare and tantalizing challenge. As Hisoka continued moving, he marveled at Ethan, his excitement growing. This kind of opponent was the challenge he craved. Only by engaging with such a formidable adversary could he truly feel satisfied and fulfilled. Swish, swish, swish. The fight continued, or rather, it never ceased. Hisoka didn't stop attacking after a single failure. He quickly launched a second, third. A series of consecutive attacks. Using bungee gum to make his movements elusive, he launched attacks from all angles, creating a terrifying offensive. Of course, Ethan's performance was equally impressive. Using mind's eye fist listening to compress his perception of time, Ethan managed to evade Hisoka's fierce attacks repeatedly, and he could launch counterattacks in return. The entire battle was a dazzling display of skill, with Hisoka constantly swooping towards Ethan like a phantom, then being dodged and counterattacked by Ethan. Afterward, Hisoka used his rapid reflexes and speed to evade Ethan's counterattacks. Speed and reflexes. The confrontation between the two was breathtakingly exquisite. Chapter 44, Is this truly Hisoka's strength? This guy is indeed terrifying. Lisa, observing the battle from a distance, was shocked by the power Hisoka displayed. Seeing it firsthand was far more impactful than just hearing about it. Despite her shock, as the battle continued, Lisa didn't think Ethan would lose. Instead, she felt more relaxed. Hisoka is very strong, but Ethan is even stronger. Remembering the successful progress Ethan had demonstrated in recent days, Lisa was filled with confidence. As Ethan moved his body, he once again dodged Hisoka's attack. He countered with a backhand punch, but Hisoka evaded it once more using bungee gum. Is he trying to use this method for a long-term battle? As his punch hit the air, Ethan sidestepped without pausing, only to see Hisoka, who was moving swiftly, change direction and attack again without stopping. The continuous cycle of combat tested not only physical strength and energy but also mental endurance. Whether it was Ethan or Hisoka, any minor mistake by either party would immediately become a fatal flaw and be exploited by the other. In terms of mental strain, Ethan was at a disadvantage compared to Hisoka. Mind's eye fist listening was indeed a magical skill, but it also placed a significant burden on the mind. Hisoka's relentless offensive forced Ethan to maintain mind's eye fist listening almost constantly, which naturally drained his mental energy quickly. With the judgment of the current battle situation flashing through his mind, Ethan realized it wasn't favorable for him and quickly made a decision. When Hisoka attacked from one side again, Ethan didn't dodge as before. Instead, he quickly turned, raising his left arm to block the card strike from Hisoka. The art of war, immovable as a mountain. Nen energy, which enveloped his entire body, concentrated on his blocking left arm, but it wasn't a simple flow or hardness. Instead, it fused with his left arm in a unique form, making it extremely hard. Hisoka initially expected Ethan to dodge as before, so he was surprised when Ethan blocked, but he didn't halt his attack. An unexpected change in the opponent's posture warranted caution, but not so much that he hesitated to act. Poof! In a flash, Hisoka, maintaining his attack, appeared before Ethan. The card in his hand struck Ethan's blocking left arm like a blade. The sleeve tore easily, and blood spurted out. But Hisoka's expression changed instantly, as his card strike on Ethan's left arm didn't cause the expected damage. It merely left a shallow wound. Hisoka's card strike was a full-force attack. Under normal circumstances, even if Ethan concentrated his nin on his left arm, the power of Hisoka's strike would be sufficient to severely injure or even sever Ethan's arm. Now it was just a shallow wound, which was an unexpected result for Hisoka. So hard, is that why he switched to blocking? When the card struck Ethan's left arm, this thought flashed through Hisoka's mind because he felt strong resistance, as if the card had hit a piece of diamond, incredibly hard. The art of war, swift as the wind. Ethan ignored Hisoka's reaction. After blocking the attack with a minor injury to his left arm, he launched an astonishing counterattack. The nin integrated into his left arm instantly returned to its entangled form, while his right arm became enveloped with nin. Ethan's arm seemed to vanish as he unleashed a flurry of punches at a speed far beyond the naked eye. The effect of force is reciprocal. When Hisoka's attack was blocked, he also experienced recoil, causing a brief moment of stagnation in his body. Although fleeting, this stagnation depends on what one is facing. Swift as the wind and immovable as a mountain are new boxing techniques Ethan developed, drawing from various martial arts philosophies. He calls it, army killing fist. If immovable as a mountain is an indestructible defense created through the combination of physical body and nin, then swift as the wind is an attack with the speed of a fist and the velocity of the wind. What a fast punch! Hisoka's pupils contracted suddenly, and he instinctively curled his body into a ball, crossing his arms in front to protect himself. Boom! 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 The barrage of punches struck Hisoka's arms like a downpour, and as Hisoka was knocked back by the force, Ethan followed swiftly, continuing his relentless assault. The frenzied offensive shredded the sleeves of Hisoka's arms almost instantly. Simultaneously, his arms swelled visibly, with skin and flesh cracking. After enduring countless punches, the bungee gum that was a step slower finally activated, pulling Hisoka's body out of Ethan's shadow of fists. Simultaneously, another bungee gum connected to the ground nearby contracted, violently uprooting rocks and soil, which swung with the bungee gum and hurled them at Ethan like a cannonball. Boom! Ethan's reaction was swift. He immediately recognized the incoming rocks and soil, turning and whipping his leg to kick the boulder-sized debris with tremendous force. Just then, as Ethan kicked the rocks and soil, a bungee gum extended and fell close to him. Immediately afterward, this bungee gum stretched to its limit and then contracted rapidly. This bungee gum naturally originated from Hisoka. Amazingly, after escaping Ethan's attack with bungee gum, Hisoka didn't pause to catch his breath. Instead, he used his left foot to cast a bungee gum towards Ethan. The bungee gum contraction after extreme stretching created an incredibly strong pulling force. Hisoka flew back towards Ethan at an even faster speed, simultaneously using his right foot to kick Ethan forcefully. Chapter 45. With his super-fast speed and powerful nin energy, Hisoka's flying kick was astonishingly potent. Even if Ethan used immovable as a mountain again, such an attack would cause severe damage. Danger. Ethan was acutely aware of Hisoka's attack. His instincts, honed through countless battles, immediately sensed the formidable threat. The hairs on his body stood on end, and he activated mind's eye fist listening to compress his perception of time to the extreme. The art of war, unknowable as darkness. His body swayed and suddenly became a blur. Ethan burst out at a speed much faster than before, fleeing the spot like a ghost. Boom! There was almost no time to spare. As Ethan moved away, Hisoka's flying kick passed through the afterimage left by him and landed forcefully on the ground. For a moment, the ground seemed to be bombarded by artillery shells, with a deafening roar and gravel flying everywhere, leaving a massive crater. Unknowable as darkness is a footwork and movement technique in army killing fist. When executed, it is as fast as a ghost, making it difficult to track. As the ground exploded, Ethan had already appeared dozens of meters away, immediately observing the massive crater. Such a terrifying attack with that power, even many enhancer nin users can't achieve it. Hisoka's mastery of nin is indeed at a high level. Hisoka's flying kick, in addition to relying on the contraction force of bungee gum, also utilized hard in the application of nin. Hard is an advanced technique that combines the 5 techniques of Ten, Zetsu, Ren, Hatsu, and Jo. It concentrates and compresses nin energy to a specific point. The more nin energy concentrated and the stronger the compression, the more powerful hard becomes. It's important to note that Hisoka isn't an enhancer. Techniques like hard can only exert 80% of an enhancer's power. Yet, the destructive power he displayed proves Hisoka's profound mastery of hard. At least Ethan knew he wasn't as proficient as Hisoka in controlling hard. The dust was still swirling when a figure quickly leapt from the crater and landed on its edge, facing Ethan. This figure was, of course, Hisoka. His arms, with flesh cracked and blood flowing, hung limply, and his body was bent awkwardly. Most strikingly, there was no sign of panic or fear on his face due to the injuries. Instead, a twisted smile spread across his face as he gazed intensely at Ethan. This feeling is incredible. Let's continue fighting to our heart's content. What started as a murmur turned into an excited scream. The twisted smile on Hisoka's face widened, and he suddenly burst forth with astonishing speed, rushing towards Ethan like a demon. The injury on his arm not only failed to deter him but seemed to make him even more menacing. "I'm not afraid of you." Ethan snorted inwardly, unaffected by Hisoka's ferocity. Instead, a wave of defiance surged within him, and his eyes gleamed with intensity. The art of war, swift as the wind. They met almost in an instant, and as they did, Ethan launched a ferocious offensive without hesitation. His fists flew with the speed of the wind, aiming relentlessly at Hisoka. Hisoka's body swayed like a reed in the wind, and his seemingly injured arms moved like flexible whips. Using his unusually agile skills, Hisoka dodged most of Ethan's punches, intercepting or even counterattacking the remaining ones. Fists and palms collided fiercely, each clash accompanied by visible shockwaves, cracking the ground and stirring up dust and debris. In a short span, the two exchanged hundreds of blows, with Ethan unable to gain any clear advantage. "In terms of physical strength, I'm lagging." Facing Hisoka head-on, Ethan's attack was intercepted, but his expression remained unchanged, understanding the situation clearly. The battle wasn't just a confrontation of Nen but also a physical contest. The relationship between Nen energy and the body is complementary, or one could say Nen acts as an amplifier. With the same amount of Nen energy and within the same category, the stronger the body, the more power is generated when combined with Nen. Moreover, the combination is not a simple additive relationship but multiplicative. 10 plus 10 equals 20, but 10 into 10 equals 100. Ethan was a good enhancer, and even in manifesting energy, he was not inferior to Hisoka. But in terms of physical fitness, even after using the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, and the 100 times training card, Hisoka was still much stronger. But this was expected. Hisoka was akin to a perfect fighter with no obvious weaknesses in Nen or physicality. Even as a conjurer, he didn't neglect physical training. And in Nen application, Hisoka surpassed Ethan. By using flow to gather Nen in his hands, Hisoka's offensive and defensive power was enough to make Ethan's swift and fierce punches challenging to penetrate. Hisoka's arms being injured by swift as the wind earlier was merely a result of Ethan catching him off guard, preventing him from concentrating enough Nen on his arms. After a fierce confrontation, Ethan suddenly vanished, and Hisoka seemed to disappear. No, he didn't vanish. Hisoka suddenly burst out with super speed, moving to Ethan's side. More precisely, Hisoka had silently used bungee gum during the fierce battle, extending it and sticking it to the ground beside Ethan, then using the contraction force to move rapidly. Not good. Ethan's expression shifted the moment Hisoka seemingly disappeared. And he instantly activated Mind's Eye Fist Listening. Chapter 46, Compression of Somatosensory Time Limit. The movement of things other than himself seemed to slow down suddenly. Ethan seized this opportunity and immediately noticed Hisoka appearing to his side. He could even see Hisoka swinging his right arm like a knife, aiming for his neck. Although somatosensory time had been compressed, it didn't mean Ethan had broken away from the normal flow of time. Hisoka's attack was fast approaching. Even if Ethan's reactions matched Hisoka's movements, it was too late to dodge or block. At this critical moment, a large number of silk threads suddenly emerged from beneath Hisoka's feet, creating bulges that lifted his figure several feet higher. The knife-like attack flashed over Ethan's head, causing his hair to sway from the airflow. The art of war, plundering like fire. The life and death situation didn't panic Ethan, instead, he handled it with extreme calmness. Not only did he activate the thread fruit in time to lift Hisoka out of the way of the dangerous attack, but he also twisted around, launching an explosive counterattack. Plundering like fire is the most aggressive move in Army Killing Fist. The Nen gathered in his right fist burned like fire, perfectly combined with his physical strength, making the explosive punches violent as ignited explosives. Hisoka retracted his right hand at lightning speed, quickly touching and pulling away with his left hand. Hisoka's reaction was quick. In a brief moment, his attack failed, and Ethan responded with a ferocious counterattack. After touching and pulling with his hands, bungee gum extended out, forming a shield-like barrier. Boom! Ethan's fist crashed into Hisoka's bungee gum shield. Instantly, the explosive force of Ethan's punch stirred the surrounding air into chaotic turbulence. Like chewing gum, bungee gum deformed and twisted under the violent punch, eventually reaching its limit and exploding. The brief buffer gave Hisoka the chance to escape. Using the elasticity from bungee gum and the force of Ethan's punch, he retreated over 10 meters without sustaining significant harm. "So, you've finally used this Nen?" And to destroy my bungee gum, such an attack is truly intoxicating. Stopping his retreat, Hisoka's feet scraped against the ground, leaving 2 furrows. His eyes first glanced at the silk threads that had lifted him, then focused intently on Ethan. The bungee gum he had used for defense had been enhanced by Hisoka, making it far stronger than ordinary bungee gum. Yet even so, it was blown away by Ethan's punch. This was enough for Hisoka to gauge the power of Ethan's attack, recognizing it as capable of inflicting serious damage. And then there was a thread fruit. From the start until now, Ethan hadn't used the thread fruit. Hisoka, who regarded the thread fruit as Ethan's primary nin ability, was naturally wary. Finally using the thread fruit. The countless threads that had retracted into the ground in front of him, Ethan focused on Hisoka, who had evaded his attack, contemplating silently. The reason he hadn't used the thread fruit earlier wasn't due to a lack of control or inability to engage in battle, but rather to see if he could defeat Hisoka without it. Being an enhancer, Ethan's previous training centered around this power. Facing a formidable opponent like Hisoka, he wanted to test his current level as an enhancer. The results were promising. Although he hadn't won, the gap wasn't significant. He had managed to compete for a while and even inflicted some injuries on Hisoka. Now that the thread fruit is in play, the real fight can begin. A cold glint flashed in Ethan's eyes. The real fight meant using all means to take down the opponent. With the thread fruit suppressed, he hadn't truly fought Hisoka until now. Bullet thread. He quickly raised his left hand, and his index finger became like the muzzle of a gun. Instantly, several bullets made of threads were formed and shot toward Hisoka at astonishing speed. Here it comes. Hisoka's eyes lit up, not with fear but with excitement about Ethan's attack. Ethan's earlier reluctance to use the thread fruit signaled to Hisoka that Ethan hadn't been fighting at full strength. And now, with the thread fruit in play, Hisoka was almost entering a state of euphoria. Whoosh whoosh. Several playing cards appeared swiftly in his hand. In his excitement, Hisoka shot the cards out in an instant. In a moment, silk bullets and playing cards collided mid-air between them. Bang bang bang. The playing cards shattered into pieces, scattered by the silk bullets. It wasn't a collision of physical matter. When the infused nin energy was similar, the enhancer's nin naturally had the advantage. Moreover, compared to Hisoka's cards, the threads were made of extremely sharp silk. Especially after Ethan's practice with the 100 times practice card, his development of the thread fruit had advanced significantly, making the threads far sharper than before. The silk bullets broke through the playing cards and continued their high-speed trajectory toward Hisoka. Despite this, Hisoka showed no sign of panic and prepared to dodge. The speed of the silk bullets was indeed fast, but not beyond Hisoka's ability to track and evade. But just as Hisoka was about to dodge, dozens of ropes composed of silk threads wrapped around his feet, interrupting his movement. The restraint made Hisoka's figure momentarily sluggish, even off balance. His expression shifted slightly, but he quickly regained control of his balance with exceptional coordination. Chapter 47, Bang Bang Bang. Hisoka's hands, seemingly unharmed, moved with precision as he used flow to channel his nin into them. Calmly and swiftly, he blocked the incoming silk bullets with ease. In the rapid collision, all the bullets were deflected by Hisoka's concentrated nin, leaving his hands undamaged. As the nin flowed rapidly, the moment he blocked the silk bullets, the energy gathered in his hands shifted to his feet. With immense force, he broke the silk threads binding his feet. The art of war, unknowable as darkness. Foot shaver thread. Ethan didn't pause after shooting the bullet thread, he moved at an incredible speed, like a phantom, quickly appearing in front of Hisoka. Simultaneously, he launched an attack, extending dense, sharp threads from his right foot, aiming for Hisoka's head with a powerful kick. Hisoka's reactions and agility were remarkable. Ethan's attack was swift, yet Hisoka broke free from the silk threads around his feet and jumped into the air, dodging Ethan's attack just in time. The air hissed as it was sliced by the sharp threads, and the powerful leg movement created a visible shock wave. A bungee gum shot from above, extending toward Ethan's body. It was Hisoka. After dodging Ethan's foot shaver thread, he immediately counterattacked, trying to use his left hand to attach bungee gum to Ethan, creating an opening for further attack. However, Ethan maintained Geo during the battle. Even though Hisoka applied into bungee gum, Ethan detected it immediately. Using the momentum of the kick, Ethan's left foot left the ground, and he spun quickly like a top, avoiding the bungee gum. 5 colored threads. The rotation didn't disrupt Ethan's balance. Not only did he land smoothly nearby, but he immediately launched another attack. With sharp eyes, he focused on Hisoka, who had landed back on the ground. His hands formed tiger claws as he clawed at Hisoka from a distance. TSK TSK TSK. Dense, sharp threads flew toward Hisoka in an X formation, intending to slice him into pieces. Whoosh. Though Ethan's bungee gum failed, Hisoka immediately lashed it to the ground like a whip, then contracted it, pulling himself away swiftly to escape the 5-colored thread's attack. Playing cards appeared in Hisoka's hand as if from nowhere. Upon landing, he immediately flung the cards, charged with nin, at Ethan. Ethan kicked out with his left leg, using the foot shaver thread again. The sharp threads, infused with nin, easily shredded the flying playing cards. Simultaneously, beneath where Hisoka stood, the ground suddenly broke open as a sharp object shot upward, aiming to pierce Hisoka. The object, made from numerous silk threads, was as thick as an adult's arm and had a tip as sharp as a spear. Hisoka turned into an afterimage, reacting quickly. Not only did he detect the ground attack immediately, but he also burst away with super speed, vanishing in an instant. The line gun shot up to 5 or 6 meters high. Its powerful impact and penetrating force made the air scream. Had Hisoka not reacted swiftly, he might have been skewered as if by a spear. Sure enough, there's a lot of thread work underground, and the attacks are enhanced by intertwining. This is truly troublesome. Hisoka didn't stop after dodging the line gun, he continued moving swiftly and activated his N to sense the ground. His command of N was impressive, easily expanding a radius of 50 meters. Within the N's perception range, Hisoka discovered a massive web of threads underground, resembling a spider's web. The line gun that attacked him earlier extended from this expansive thread network. This discovery both excited and alarmed Hisoka. The excitement stemmed from the challenge. The more dangerous the battle, the more it thrilled him. Caution, however, was a necessary quality in combat. Sitting on this vast web, he felt like an insect caught in a spider's web, a misstep away from becoming prey. Field of threads. This was the name of the huge network of threads Hisoka perceived within. While much of Ethan's thread fruit development drew inspiration from Doflamingo, it wasn't a mere copy. Instead, he integrated his own creativity and imagination. The field of threads was one such innovation. By standing on the ground, a multitude of threads extended from Ethan's feet, spreading underground. The field of threads was akin to a weakened version of the thread fruit's awakened power, allowing Ethan to launch attacks from various positions. Swish, swish, swish. Seeing Hisoka dodge the line gun's attack, Ethan's expression remained unchanged, and he promptly launched a new assault. Around Hisoka's movement range, another set of line guns erupted from the ground, swaying like roaring dragons. Ethan locked eyes with Hisoka coldly, instantly controlling dozens of line guns to encircle and bombard Hisoka relentlessly. Lines of bungee gum stretched out and landed on the ground around him. Facing the intense barrage, Hisoka accelerated to his maximum speed, weaving through with precision. Boom. 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 Utilizing the spread of the field of threads and the line gun attacks extending from it, Ethan could even channel his nin into them, amplifying their power. The line guns that continually shot forth not only caused a fierce whistling through the air but also blasted deep craters into the ground wherever Hisoka dodged. The violent impacts caused the coastal clearing to shake intensely, with cracks spreading in all directions. Chapter 48, the figure moved back and forth, and the line gun adjusted its aim, firing again after striking the air. In a short time, the open space on the coast resembled a hornet's nest, pockmarked with numerous holes. Hisoka's reflexes and speed were indeed remarkable, preventing the line gun from hitting him directly. However, Ethan's relentless line gun attacks kept Hisoka too occupied to counterattack. Moreover, during these continuous attacks, Ethan quietly set up additional strategies. Spider's nest. TSK TSK TSK. As Hisoka dodged within the compressed movement range of the line guns, numerous threads shot up from the ground, quickly forming an enormous encasing spider web. Once the giant web appeared, it shot upward, then closed like a titan sac to form a ball, rapidly shrinking inward. The space within the spider web shrank quickly, trapping Hisoka inside while reducing his range of motion. Throughout this process, Hisoka couldn't help but react. In fact, he attempted to escape when the spider's nest deployed, but was thwarted by the simultaneous line gun assault. By the time the line gun stopped and the spider's nest began shrinking, Hisoka was trapped inside, on the verge of being wrapped up. I must break free. Hisoka's heart raced, and he rushed toward one direction. A playing card appeared in his right hand, which he infused with nin, striking at the web where the opening was barely larger than his fist. The situation was clear. If Hisoka didn't want to become trapped, he had to break out before the spider's nest fully enveloped him. Shing. The playing card, charged with powerful nin, was indeed sharp. With a single blow, it sliced a long gash in the tough spider's nest. Hisoka used the cut to slip through the opening like a serpent, escaping the spider's nest blockade. But as he broke free, a figure appeared beside him with ghostly speed. The art of war, move like thunder. The figure was Ethan. He had attacked at top speed using unknowable as darkness. raising his right fist. On his muscular arm, a spiral of intense nin energy swirled. There are 6 forms in the killing fist of the art of war, corresponding to the 6 elements: wind, forest, fire, mountain, darkness, and thunder in the art of war. Among these forms, unknowable as darkness and immovable as mountain are movement and defensive techniques, while the other 4 are offensive. Each form has unique attributes. Some pursue the speed of the punch, like swift as the wind. Others balance offense and defense, like swift as the forest. And some seek explosive power. Move like thunder is a form that aims for ultimate attack power. The spiral nin energy on the fist arm spun at high speed, creating friction with the air and producing thunderous sparks. This punch was earth-shattering, turning Ethan's fist into a drill, capable of penetrating and tearing through Hisoka's entire body. Danger. Hisoka's extraordinary instincts and keen reactions immediately sensed Ethan's attack and the immense danger of move like thunder. Ah! A strange scream escaped his throat. With incredible speed and reflexes, Hisoka twisted his body mid-air and raised his left knee to block Ethan's punch. Nin flowed freely, gathering on his knee. As it accumulated, Ethan's fist struck. Boom! The surrounding air exploded with force, creating a roaring shockwave. Blood, flesh, and bone fragments from Hisoka's left knee scattered as it shattered under Ethan's powerful blow. Pain surged through him, but Hisoka endured the agony of his broken leg. At the cost of his left leg, he used a brief reprieve to shoot a bungee gum from his hand, pulling himself away from the ground to safety. Ethan's fist, having destroyed the knee, continued its trajectory, but Hisoka had already escaped the attack range, dodging a potentially fatal blow. If that wasn't enough, let's try another strike. The follow-up attack missed, and Ethan's eyes locked onto Hisoka, who had landed nearby, his gaze steely. Whoosh! A bolt of white lightning appeared from the forest far from the coast, flashing over the trees and striking Hisoka with astonishing speed. Normally, even with this white lightning appearing suddenly and moving swiftly, Hisoka's reflexes and skills would suffice to evade. But circumstances were different now. The broken leg and rushed evasion hampered his movements. Despite detecting the distant attack with his acute reflexes, Hisoka barely managed to shift away, unable to fully escape the attack's range. Shing! Tsk tsk tsk! A terrible tearing sound echoed as an arm spun through the air, blood spraying. The white lightning struck Hisoka's right shoulder, severing his right arm at the root. Even after cutting off Hisoka's arm, the white lightning continued. Like a whip, it struck the coastal ground, extending all the way to the sea. Dust rose, and seawater poured in. A deep fissure appeared from the coast to the sea, nearly 100 meters long. The white lightning dissipated after the strike. Following the direction it came from, one would find a tall figure standing on a hill several kilometers away from the coast. Importantly, this figure was another Ethan. Chapter 49, Shadow Riding Line. Super Whip. These are the true identities of the second Ethan and the white lightning from before. Ethan's approach in the battle with Hisoka was meticulous and well prepared. In addition to fiercely fighting Hisoka, he secretly prepared the shadow riding line technique in advance, allowing him to use the super whip for long-range support. After severing Hisoka's left leg, his right arm was also cut off. Hisoka's injuries were severe. Ethan felt no pity for Hisoka. Instead, he planned to use decisive measures to finish him off. Using unknowable as darkness instantly, Ethan rushed forward after severing Hisoka's right arm with super whip, aiming to secure a decisive victory. The super whip attack not only took Hisoka's right arm but the impact also sent him flying. However, just as Ethan approached, Hisoka suddenly shot sideways like a bullet from a gun. In Ethan's enhanced vision using Gyo, he saw Hisoka extend a bungee gum, pulling himself along. And more bungee gum kept appearing. After reaching one point, a second bungee gum appeared, continuing to retract to its limit, pulling Hisoka along. Hisoka's ultra-fast movement resembled a snake gliding over the ground. In a few flashes, he was nearing the dense forest by the coast. Trying to escape? Arriving at Hisoka's previous location, Ethan quickly turned and spotted Hisoka. Recognizing his movements, he immediately understood Hisoka's intent. Activating the field of thread spread underground across hundreds of meters, he extended a series of line guns near Hisoka. As they burst from the ground with force, they aimed directly at Hisoka. Suddenly, a shadow emerged from the dense forest toward which Hisoka was heading. In an instant, it intercepted Hisoka, then turned and vanished into the lush forest. Boom boom boom. The line gun bombardment hit only air, creating deep craters in the spot where Hisoka had been, sending dust flying. What? The shadow appeared and vanished swiftly, but Ethan identified it briefly and frowned at the realization. Alumai. Did Hisoka come here to find him? Was it because I had Lisa as backup, Or did Illumai intervene to save Hisoka on his own? The shadow that rescued Hisoka was none other than Illumai. He concealed himself well, and even Ethan hadn't detected him. The sudden appearance and rescue of Hisoka by Illumai halted Ethan's pursuit. Not only did Illumai leave quickly, reducing the chance of a successful chase, but his presence also posed a significant threat. Regardless of Illumai's reasons or motives for saving Hisoka, Ethan judged him to be on Hisoka's side. If pursued, Illumai might join the battle. Despite incapacitating one of Hisoka's legs and an arm, Hisoka wasn't entirely helpless. Illumai's strength was likely comparable to Hisoka's. After battling Hisoka, though victorious, Ethan's energy reserves were depleted. Even with Lisa's help, taking on Illumai and an injured yet dangerous Hisoka would be a daunting challenge. A figure approached quickly. It was Lisa. Was that Illumai just now? Why would he save Hisoka? What's the connection between them? With Hisoka rescued, the battle naturally ended. Lisa had also identified the rescuer as Illumai. As she approached, she warily eyed the direction Illumai had vanished, questioning Ethan. There's some connection between them, but I don't know the details. Ethan replied, dispersing the shadow riding line and the underground field of threads. Though the thread fruit didn't drain Nin, it consumed significant physical energy. Especially these advanced techniques, which demanded even more stamina. A troublesome guy. If he hadn't intervened, Hisoka wouldn't have escaped your pursuit. Lisa remarked, clearly displeased. Indeed, being hindered from finishing a formidable enemy is frustrating. Ethan felt the same. I hope Illumai offers a reasonable explanation in the future. Otherwise, I don't mind clashing with the Zoltik family. Ethan stated calmly. His calm tone underscored the cold resolve within him. The Zoltik family. Lisa stood by Ethan without hesitation, narrowing her eyes with a quick smile. The Zoltik family was indeed powerful, but that didn't make them invincible. Ethan had the confidence to challenge them, and Lisa shared his resolve. Suddenly, Ethan turned toward the dense forest nearby and called out, "You've been watching for a while without saying hello, or are you waiting for a chance to snatch our tags?" Lisa also turned, her expression unsurprised, having sensed the hidden presence long ago. After a brief silence, footsteps approached, and a figure emerged from the forest. It was Kurapika. Don't misunderstand, I'm not here to grab tags. I just came to witness a rare battle. Kurapika said, raising his hands to show no hostility. But his gaze at Ethan betrayed a deeper curiosity. Chapter 50, Witness the Battle. But now that the battle is over, why haven't you left? Everyone else was smart enough to evacuate immediately. You don't seem like someone who's foolish. Ethan remarked, a trace of amusement in his voice as he looked at Kurapika. He had arranged to meet Hisoka before coming to the island, doing so in front of all the candidates. In fact, Kurapika wasn't the only one secretly watching the battle, but the others wisely departed once the fight concluded. Ethan singled out Kurapika because he was the only one who didn't leave after the battle ended but instead approached him. I want to become stronger, and your battle with Hisoka revealed a power I've never encountered before. I want to seek your guidance. Kurapika said, taking a deep breath and explaining why he stayed, his eyes filled with determination. For those without Nin, it remains invisible, and even Nin energy is hard to detect. Yet, during the battle between Ethan and Hisoka, anyone observant could sense the presence of Nin users. Moreover, Ethan used his thread fruit abilities, which, unlike Nin, were visible to the naked eye. A power that transcends normal understanding, extraordinary and powerful. How could Kurapika not desire it? In a coastal reef area, Ethan and Lisa sat casually on a rock. Opposite them, Kurapika stood quietly, waiting patiently. After Kurapika expressed his desire to seek Ethan's guidance, Ethan neither agreed nor refused. Instead, he found a nearby spot to rest. Raising his left arm, Ethan pressed his right hand to the wound Hisoka had inflicted. In his palm, nearly invisible silk threads passed through the wound, quickly suturing it. Kurapika watched intently, not blinking, as if trying to uncover the secret of this unknown power. The wound was quickly sutured, leaving a long, narrow line. Moreover, the durable silk threads from the thread fruit were used to stitch the wound, ensuring it wouldn't reopen when Ethan exerted force with his left arm. After resting for a while, once his physical and mental energy stabilized, Ethan turned his attention to Kurapika. Nin, that's the power Hisoka and I used in our battle. Ethan explained suddenly. Nin? Kurapika was taken aback, his eyes lighting up with excitement. He quickly asked, is it possible to acquire Nin through training? Ethan smiled and replied, of course. Although Nin users are rare compared to the overall human population, every human has the potential to become a Nin user. Kurapika felt relieved. He feared Nin might be unobtainable through training. But he wasn't completely at ease, as Ethan's words implied that learning Nin could be challenging. Though it's a bit presumptuous, would you teach me to learn Nin? I'm willing to pay any price. Kurapika said with determination. Ethan waved his hand dismissively. There's no need for that, because as long as you pass the hunter exam, the Hunter Association will naturally provide someone to teach you nin. Is that so? Kurapika was surprised. Yes, for a qualified professional hunter, mastering nin is a basic requirement. In fact, the current hunter exam is only the first half. Only by learning nin can you truly pass the exam. Ethan explained with a smile. Hearing this, Kurapika was filled with joy. After witnessing the battle between Ethan and Hisoka and learning that the unknown power they wielded was called nin, he developed a strong desire for it. Now knowing that passing the hunter exam would offer him the opportunity to learn nin, how could he not be thrilled? Thank you so much for sharing this important information. If you ever need anything, I'll do my best to help. After his initial surprise, Kurapika quickly bowed to Ethan. Although Ethan didn't directly teach him nin, Kurapika was grateful for the information provided. Help? Perhaps we can help each other. You must be from the Kurta clan. I assume you want revenge on the Phantom Troop. Ethan said with a soft smile, staring at Kurapika as he spoke slowly. Huh? Kurapika suddenly straightened, his eyes turning scarlet as he stepped back to create distance. He quickly drew the two sheathed swords from his back, staring intently at Ethan. What? Although Lisa, sitting next to Ethan, remained silent, seemingly relaxed, she was actually on guard. As Kurapika shifted into a fighting stance, Lisa instantly stood up. Black and white guns appeared in her hands, aimed at Kurapika with a sharp gaze. Ethan didn't move, remaining seated on the rock with a casual demeanor as he calmly observed Kurapika's reaction. Your reaction is too extreme. If I were from the Phantom Troop, do you think you'd still be standing here? Who are you, and how do you know about me? Kurapika's breathing was rapid, a response to his emotional turmoil. After hearing Ethan's words, he hesitated but eventually lowered the two swords. Ethan was right. If he were really from the Phantom Troop, he wouldn't have spoken as he did after identifying Kurapika as a Kurta clan member. Of course, Kurapika didn't fully lower his guard and remained suspicious of Ethan's intentions. I'm just an ordinary non-user, preparing to become a professional bounty hunter. The Phantom Troop is one of my future targets, so I've paid special attention and conducted my own investigations. As for your background, I have my own sources of information. Ethan stated calmly. Chapter 51, Kurapika looked thoughtful, then turned directly to Ethan and asked tentatively, what did you mean by helping each other just now? Are you suggesting we team up to deal with the Phantom Troop? That's one way to look at it. The reason I'm telling you all this is because I think you have great potential and could help me hunt the Phantom Troop in the future. Ethan nodded. Do you know the whereabouts of the Phantom Troop? Kurapika asked eagerly. The main reason he took the hunter exam was because of the intelligence power that comes with a hunter license. Not yet, but I know where the Phantom Troop will appear at a certain time. Instead of chasing their whereabouts, it's better for you to strengthen your abilities before then. Also, let me tell you this, many members of the Phantom Troop are as strong as Hisoka. With your current strength, even the weakest member could easily defeat you. Ethan took out a cigarette and lighter from his storage space, lit one, and spoke calmly, the smoke obscuring his face.